Yu Ziao transmigrates into a fantasy world and becomes a minor figure of the righteous faction, the Taijuan Holy Land. He possesses heaven-defying comprehension, yet is born with an ordinary mortal body. At this moment, a system is activated. As long as he creates cultivation techniques and spreads them to others, he can obtain rewards and defy fate itself. A mortal body worse than a dog? Then I'll use this mortal body to slaughter gods and prove the Tao. However, as more techniques are created, the entire Holy Land starts to feel less and less righteous. You created the Sunflower Manual and taught it to your disciples. 10,000 disciples castrated themselves, their cultivation skyrocketed. Reward, Bull Demon Kidney. You created 3 heads and 6 arms and taught it to your disciples. 100,000 disciples installed tiger heads, wolf heads, and for killing arms. Divine powers perfected. Reward, True Dragon Heart. You created the Taiyin Jade Maiden Heart Sutra and taught it to the Holy Sun. The Holy Sun turned into a woman. Combat power greatly increased. Reward, Tao Fusion Flower. You created 1 Che transforms into 3 pure ones and taught it to a great emperor. The emperor mentally tortured himself every day, eventually splitting into 3 people to research. Separately, the mortal arts perfected. Ding! The number of cultivators has reached 10 million. Reward, Supreme Immortal Weapon, Chaos Immortal Bell. Several years later, the demonic factions launch a siege against the Righteous Alliance. Not a single normal person among them, and you're telling me these are the righteous ones, facing tens of millions of insane, grotesque disciples. The demonic cultivators completely collapse, kneel to the ground, and beg for mercy. Immortal Emperor Yi, please stop creating cultivation techniques. Over 100 Taijuan disciples immediately became excited, surrounding Yishaya and receiving his finger on their foreheads, each receiving a transmission of the techniques. The 3-eyed true monarch was also stunned, receiving 2 divine abilities from Yishaya. This is heaven grade. The young master has created a heaven grade technique. The disciples all widened their eyes in shock. The higher the grade of a technique, the more difficult it is to cultivate, and the more profound and obscure it becomes, making comprehension incredibly challenging. Creating one, the difficulty is multiplied by thousands of times. It's hundreds of times more difficult than creating an earth-grade technique. The heaven-human realm, the Tao integration realm, and even the Tao slaying realm are most suitable for cultivation. Although their initial cultivation was somewhat difficult, only able to unleash a fraction of its power, each fraction was enough. Little Ancestor is awesome, absolutely amazing. Heaven grade, I actually learned a heaven grade technique for free. Just the spread of this technique alone would be enough to cause bloodshed and chaos among small sects and factions. It's priceless. In some families, it would be enough to become a clan-protecting divine technique. The disciples were incredibly excited, their eyes filled with respect and fanaticism as they looked at Yi Xiaoyao. Many of them came from cultivation families with considerable backgrounds, yet their clans only possessed a few heaven-grade divine techniques. This shows just how valuable heaven-grade divine techniques are. Su Maoan's small face flashed bright red, her eyes sparkling with admiration. She possessed the yin-yang body, and the little ancestor had finally created a divine technique suitable for women, even more so for her. Meanwhile, the sycophantic little diamond, witnessing this scene, felt his face stiffen slightly, crying, sincere and emotionally rich. My current capacity for acceptance is very strong. I can accept it. It's just right to be a big killer move. A half-step spirit realm cultivator's face was full of joy. His name was Wang Zhen, 16 years old, even stronger than Zheng Yuan, the assassin of Yi Xiaoyao, and the top scorer in this competition. Wang Zhen looked at the heaven-level divine ability transplanting flowers and grafting trees. Wang Zhen's smile froze, his eyes widened, then widened again, his face filled with shock. Cutting off limbs, breaking off the limbs of a demonic beast from a tree to fight. Wang Zhen felt he had received an unprecedented shock, a shock even greater than any divine ability or technique created by his group. Breakthrough. It's utterly overturning. How can a human and a beast be fused together? That's impossible. Absolutely impossible. Wang Zhen's worldview shattered into pieces. He heard that humans and beasts could have children, but he'd never heard of them fusing bodies. If it were that easy. someone would have already chopped off their own second brother and joined tigers. A few disciples who had cultivated the sunflower manual had a flash of inspiration in their minds, and a surge of excitement surged through them as they tried something similar. Their hearts pounding. Absolutely amazing! This transplanting flowers and connecting branches technique is incredibly amazing. Little Diamond carefully observed, his excitement causing his hands to tremble. He had a devilish obsession with this divine ability. Wang Zhen was stunned. When did his Diamond Junior brother become so abnormal? Little Ancestor is indeed Little Ancestor. His creations of divine abilities always give people a sense of novelty. Anyone who joins the group to find a lover won't be lonely. They'll definitely relieve all kinds of cultivation postures. Excellent, heavenly talent. I'm willing to call this divine ability the #1 among all techniques, setting a precedent for opening a divine ability. I don't understand it, but I'm very moved. The disciples, upon seeing this, were all amazed and full of admiration. Their gazes towards Yi Xiaoyao became even more fervent and adoring. This kind of monstrous divine ability, who could possibly create it? To even think of it is amazing. Even the great emperor would exclaim, heroes of the world, only those far removed from the emperor. As for the Kunlun disciples, they naturally hadn't been taught it, but hearing the excited discussions of the Taijuan disciples, they also understood, their eyes widening in shock. Another divine ability created, and there's a heaven level 1. My old Buddha, he's getting more and more defying the heavens. From Cheng's lips trembled slightly. Heavenly level. Although there are many sects at this level in the Kunlun Holy Land, only a few suit his physique. He suddenly realized that by following Yi Xiaoyao, he would sooner or later become the chief reporter of the Dao Alliance. There's too much gossip. He can't eat it all. Absolutely not. Crying for a funeral. Could it be that our junior sister cried for 3 days in front of him, and that's how he created it? He took several deep breaths, feeling the urge to curse. Even though they were just pretending, he was right there beside them. What? We cried for 3 days, and he was indifferent, even speculating about our crying methods? In the end, we didn't get the divine ability, but this guy actually understood our sobbing and created a divine ability for his disciples. And he even cried for a funeral. Truly, a beast. With slightly swollen eyelids and no sign of swelling, the female disciple's mouth gaped open into an O shape, like a stupid mole. Then her face turned pale, and her molars almost broke off. The heavenly origin Saint Master's face also turned black, glaring at the three-eyed true monarch, gnashing his teeth. Your Taijuan Holy Land is truly blessed to have such a great talent as Yi Xiaoyao. Indeed, licking dogs never rest in peace. After licking for half a day, it was all for nothing. Too much praise, too much praise. The three-eyed true monarch's face was beaming, grinning from ear to ear. After more than 100 Taijuan disciples had all comprehended the miraculous technique, Su Cheng and Li He led their disciples to continue licking, this time licking the true body. This made the heavenly origin Saint Master furious. My teaching of divine abilities is not without conditions. There must be a price to pay. Yi Xiaoyao laughed heartily, saying that although he planned to widely spread his profound techniques in the future and reap a large number of system rewards, he wouldn't teach just anyone. Su Cheng! And the others were shaken, hastily saying, what price? As long as it's not a sacrifice, everything is fine. I'm very interested in the various Taoist scriptures and texts of the Kunlun Holy Land Scripture Repository, Yi Xiaoyao said slowly. This, Su Cheng and the others were stunned, shaking their heads. Joking aside, in this era, divine techniques and ancient manuscripts are extremely rare. Even if they were willing, the Kunlun high-ranking officials would absolutely not agree. The Heavenly Yuan Saint Master also shook his head. The scripture repository is the foundation of the Holy Land, the root of everything. Even your fourth grandfather would find it difficult to enter. Then there's nothing we can do. Although we're all righteous, we can't just catch a white wolf empty-handed, can we? Besides, I'm also considering the entire righteous path. Only by studying the ancient texts of the world, researching the 3,000 great paths, and using this as a foundation, can we create divine abilities. Yi Xiaoyao shrugged, his eyes narrowed in a smile. Can't get in. Sooner or later they'll ask me to come in. Even the Heavenly Yuan Saint Master felt a little embarrassed by what he said. Their behavior was indeed somewhat shameless. He thought for a moment, then his eyes suddenly brightened, pointing to the increasingly majestic mountain in the distance. This mountain was the Heavenly Master's sacred land. You came here, weren't you, for the Heavenly Master's sacred land scripture repository? If you can persuade the Qingfeng Saint Master to enter their scripture repository, I will ask the Kunlun Saint Master to open our scripture repository for you. Since you couldn't convince me, then how about I pass on 5 Earth-level divine techniques to my disciples? Grandmother Tianyuan chuckled like an old fox. 5 Earth-level techniques, their value was truly immeasurable. Without exaggeration, they were comparable to sacred medicines. One must know that divine techniques can be passed down through generations, but sacred medicines are gone forever. What a joke! How could the Heavenly Master Holy Land allow this group to enter the scripture repository? Aren't you just trying to catch a white wolf empty-handed? Exactly. How shameless! Little Diamond, Wang Zhen, and the other disciples were stunned, muttering angrily under their breath. If ranked, the Heavenly Master Holy Land would be third among the 9 great holy lands. Despite their close relationship, they wouldn't allow others into the scripture repository. Not to mention the divine techniques. The handwritten manuscripts of ancient sages and the Taoist canon alone were a treasure trove. All the great sages aspire to glimpse the divine and comprehend the great Tao. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Master, this is a bit, Sue. Cheng was embarrassed. Even he felt his face turn red from asking for something impossible. Alright, let's change it to a gambling card. Li He and the other Kunlun disciples also fell silent, hastily saying, for them, even getting to the scripture repository was difficult. The gates were strictly guarded, and the conditions were extremely harsh. Three-eyed True Monarch's face darkened even more. He really wanted to kick Master Tianyuan in the face. His face was too thick-skinned. However, to everyone's surprise, Yishaya actually nodded in agreement. Although the difficulty is not small, we can try. Yishaya stroked his chin. Even if the other party hadn't mentioned it, he would have found a way to get in, and he had been pondering how to get in along the way. Now, Master Tianyuan had given him some inspiration. Ha, good. Let's decide on that. Afraid that Yishaya might change his mind, the Heavenly Origin Saint Master quickly chimed in, laughing heartily. Nothing beats a freebie. The Three-Eyed True Monarch, the Taijuan Saint Sun, and others were speechless, slapping their thighs in frustration, thinking to themselves, this little rascal is so muddled. How could he possibly enter the Heavenly Master's Sacred Land Scripture Repository? This is clearly a freebie request. What a load of nonsense. Come. Yishaya said with a faint smile, pointing ahead. In front, an ancient and majestic mountain peak dominated the 8 deserts, resembling a dragon or a tiger, its height and known tens of thousands of miles. It was as if Peng had split the heavens and earth, his head pinned to the very top, supporting both heaven and earth. Unlike the Taijuan mountain range, this was a single mountain, incredibly vast. It is rumored that the first generation of Heavenly Masters was surnamed Zhang during the time when the demonic Tao wreaked havoc upon the world. He wielded 2 watermelon-shaped swords, hacking his way from the dark forbidden zone all the way to Penlai East Road, traveling back and forth for 3 days and 3 nights without blinking an eye. That kind of heroic, world-shaking power truly makes one's blood boil. Su Cheng exclaimed, his excitement overflowing. He didn't blink for such a long time. What did his eyes do? Yishaya asked in surprise. Su Cheng's face turned pale and he mechanically turned his head. I said Master Zhang's power shook the world, but do you think his eyes did? Zhang, what Zhang Bai Ren, or Zhang Daoling? Falling to the foot of the mountain, Yishaya looked up at the towering archway reaching into the clouds, the top of which bore 4 characters Heavenly Master's Holy Land. And in front of the gate, a group of gray-haired old men smiled like blooming chrysanthemums, welcoming them. 2 great sacred lands arrived together. The reception was naturally impeccable, led by a white-eyed old man in a green Taoist robe. This was the Qingfeng Holy Lord. His demeanor was approachable, like a friendly old man from next door who enjoyed fishing. Behind him stood several supreme elders, all high-ranking Heavenly Masters, and further behind were more than 10 other elders. True Monarch, Holy Master, it's been 5 years, and you 2 are even more distinguished than before. the Qingfeng Holy Lord said with a gentle smile. Three-eyed True Monarch and Heavenly Yuan Holy Master descended with their disciples, and the Golden Winged Great ROC instantly soared into the air, disappearing into the clouds. Qingfeng Holy Lord. Three-eyed True Monarch nodded, turning to the Taijuan Holy Sun and the others, saying, "Come quickly and pay your respects to Senior Qingfeng." Although it was a competition, a certain level of etiquette was necessary. You all come quickly and pay your respects as well. Grandmother Tiayuan also beckoned. Greetings, Holy Master Qingfeng, greetings to all seniors. The disciples, curious, looked around, and upon hearing this, they rushed forward, bowing deeply in unison. In terms of seniority, these people were all of the same level as their ancestors. Only one person remained motionless, his hands clasped behind his back, observing the crowd. This solitary demeanor instantly drew everyone's attention. Many frowned. Where did this junior come from, so ignorant of proper etiquette? A scholarly old man in a Confucian robe looked at Yi Xiaoyao, unconsciously adopting the air of an elder. They had heard of Yi Xiaoyao, but had never seen him, and this person was completely different from the 8-year-old child they had imagined. "Who are you?" Yi Xiaoyao slowly stepped forward, raising his eyebrows slightly. He wondered where this fellow got such a fiery temper. He was clearly unfriendly towards the Taijuan Holy Land. Are all the juniors of the Taijuan Holy Land so ignorant of respecting elders and cherishing the young? The old man in the scholar's robe frowned even deeper, ignoring Yi Xiaoyao and looking towards the three-eyed True Monarch. The three-eyed True Monarch's eyes flickered, seemingly understanding the reason behind it, and he couldn't help but shake his head. This was an elder, Ji Zhen, a member of the Ji family with an innate Dao embryo. In the Ji family, some agreed to Yi Xiaoyao and Ji Xianyan's marriage from childhood, while others disagreed. Ji Zhen was likely the first, seemingly leaning towards the misty Holy Land. Seeing this, the Heavenly Yuan Holy Master's expression became strange. He pointed at Yi Xiaoyao, laughing heartily and saying, "Junior?" Ji Zhen, according to seniority, you should call him uncle. After he finished speaking, the Heavenly Master Holy Land instantly fell silent. Ji Zhen was even more stunned, looking towards Yi Xiaoyao. "This must be Yi Xiaoyao, my junior brother. I didn't expect. He's grown so big." The Qingfeng Holy Lord instantly understood. He looked at the handsome young man, whose height almost caught up to his own, and couldn't help but stare blankly, his face twitching. The others also had strange looks in their eyes. Finally, they saw the legendary Taijuan young master, kid, respecting elders and cherishing the young. Yi Xiaoyao said with a squinting smile, looking at Ji Zhen. Ji Zhen's face twitched slightly, then darkened, and he only managed to breathe a sigh of relief after a long while. It turned out he didn't like the person in front of him. However, even if they were unhappy, they couldn't say much. In terms of seniority, few could surpass this person. The little diamond and the others almost burst out laughing. "You think you can get ahead of yourself with your age?" Cough cough, let's quickly enter the sacred land. Qingfeng coughed twice, leading everyone into the mountain. Along the way, they encountered many disciples of the Heavenly Masters, all curiously observing them. Especially Yi Xiaoyao. At such a young age, to be walking alongside the Holy Lord and the Supreme Elder was truly extremely rare. The Misty Immortal Palace and the Penglai Sacred Land have arrived, and other sacred lands are also on their way. This time, Guangling Jun is also coming along, and his son Li Ling. That kid has quite a grudge against junior brother Xiaoyao. Qingfeng, the Holy Lord, spoke as he walked, giving Yi Xiaoyao a meaningful glance. Gim Langquan's main purpose in coming this time was to have his son, Ls Lin, snatch away his daughter-in-law, causing him endless headaches. Now the main culprit has arrived, drawing the flames of anger. His son, Ls Lin, had been beaten by his father, Dai Tiu Dao. Naturally, he wanted to stand up for his father and seek revenge on Dai Tiu Dao. Although Ls Lin was only 11 or 12 years old, he possessed the eye of punishing sins, reaching the true core realm. While not a saint's son, he was certainly not weaker than a saint's son. Ha ha! Dai Tiu Dao chuckled twice, showing no interest in that little brat Ls Lin. Instead, he was assessing this ancient sacred mountain. The most famous place in the Heavenly Master's sacred land was the Heavenly Master Tower, the ancient sage's tomb, the Thunder Sea, and the land of creation. It certainly had no shortage of such things. However, Yishaya wasn't very interested in this and continued on his way, subtly hinting at the location of the scripture repository. As needed, the Qingfeng Holy Master arranged for the two men to be settled on the tobacco platform. This was a huge platform, complete with pavilions, small bridges, and flowing streams. The scenery was charming and elegant, as if they had arrived in the Jiangnan region. You two can stay here. When the competition begins, you can also exchange cultivation insights with the young fellows from the Misty Immortal Palace and the Penglai Holy Land. After arranging their accommodations, the Heavenly Master Elders and Supreme Elders departed one after another. Three-Eyed True Monarch and Heavenly Yuan Holy Master also left with them. Ha ha ha, Brother Yi, you finally arrived. As he walked, the Penglai Holy Son of Penglai laughed loudly, extremely happy. After 3 months, he had become even more powerful. He patted Yi Xiaoyao on the shoulder. Sensing Yi Xiaoyao's cultivation fluctuation was shallow, seemingly still at the true profound realm, he was even happier. The previous blood cave trial had been a blow to his progress. Besides that, there were some acquaintances, all greeting him, while those unfamiliar were curiously observing. Is this Yi Xiaoyao? My God, is he 8 years old? 18 years old. I heard Yi Xiaoyao created a new cultivation technique. I wonder if it's true. I heard. A group of Penglai disciples chattered excitedly, quickly becoming a chaotic mess. They asked all sorts of questions, especially about Yi Xiaoyao's creation of a new cultivation technique. This was too shocking and unbelievable. Although no one believed it, many were still quite curious. This is purely fake and untrue. Little Diamond, leading the charge, carelessly brushed it aside. With the competition imminent, they couldn't reveal their trump cards. If they were targeted and anticipated, winning would be exponentially more difficult. I said it was fake, just to scare me. That's good, that's good. The Penglai elites immediately brightened up. Fake is good. Over 100 cultivation techniques and divine abilities are too unreasonable. If it were real, they would be at the bottom of the rankings in this competition. Kunlun Sicheng, Li He, and others looked at the Penglai elites as if they were fools. A bunch of fools. You'll be crying when the competition starts. From Cheng muttered, without directly exposing them. They were too eager to curry favor with Yi Xiaoyao to offend him. Yi Xiaoyao also smiled faintly, carefully observing the cultivation levels of the Penglai Holy Land disciples for a long time. He couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. There were over 100 people here, with solid foundations and exceptionally profound cultivation, several of them at the half-step spirit realm. The disciples of Taijuan cultivating the techniques he created could barely keep up. Taijuan brother, why do you smell so fragrant? I haven't seen you for a few days. How did you become so effeminate? The Penglai Saint Sun approached Taijuan Saint Sun, sniffing slightly in surprise. Get lost. Taijuan Saint Sun's gaze was unfriendly. Beside him, Su Cheng's face was expressionless. Having waited in Taijuan Holy Land for several days, he noticed Taijuan Saint Sun was becoming increasingly feminine, with breasts and a strong feminine aura. However, without touching the other's lower body, he couldn't be sure. His temperament is getting worse. The Penglai Saint Sun became increasingly annoyed. Taijuan Saint Sun's state felt like his senior sister's period. The three parties didn't stay long before quickly dispersing. Before leaving, the Penglai Saint Sun cautioned Yi Xiaoyao, be careful of Li Ling, the son of Guangling Jun, who might bother you. That brat has been constantly asking when you'll arrive. After saying this, he left. The competition was scheduled for 2 days later. They didn't want to waste any time. Every bit of improvement in their strength was a bonus. Yi Xiaoyao, however, didn't care about Li Ling at all. He wasn't participating in the competition because he was lazy and it was a waste of time, but that didn't mean he was weak. Even spirit realm cultivators could easily overpower him. Li Ling would only be able to be pinned to the ground and humiliated by him. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. The crowd dispersed. The disciples of Taijuan, in their research on transplanting flowers and connecting branches, seized the opportunity to go to the Heavenly Master's Holy Land within the Heavenly Master City, purchasing several powerful demonic beasts and beast pouches. They also conveniently bought several novels for their book-loving group. As the day drew to a close, the tobacco pavilion faded into twilight. The disciples of the various holy lands were all diligently cultivating, their activities in full swing. Only Yi Xiao sat idly on the second floor of the pavilion, reading the novel in his hand under the moonlight. The overbearing empress loves me. The surroundings were quiet and peaceful. However, this tranquility was quickly broken. From several pavilions within Taijuan's holy land, intermittent cries could be heard. Oh, like mourning, the sounds were mournful and sorrowful. In this ordinary darkness, they appeared incredibly eerie and frightening. Meanwhile, at the other end of the pavilion, Li Ling, resplendent in his golden robe, rubbed his hands together, his eyes gleaming like the sun, captivating the soul. He was born with great ambitions. His father had suffered defeat, and as his son, he naturally wanted to avenge his father's honor. First, he would defeat Yi Xiao, then he would seek out Yi Nanshan. Besides, he wanted to see how much quality the Blood Cave trial had in suppressing the demonic sect. I heard he's in the true profound realm, and he's not participating in the competition. Are you going to pick a fight with him? If something happens, your father might not be able to bear the consequences. The misty Saint Sun, Su Fengliu, sprawled lazily on a large chair, rolled his eyes. The difference between the true profound realm and the true den realm was immense. It was easy for trouble to arise. I know my limits, and besides, do you really think I'm only doing this to avenge my father? If I beat him up, his marriage to Ji Xianyan will probably fail. Even if the Qingfeng Holy Lord is biased, he won't let the Holy Maiden marry him. Li Ling snorted smugly. Then I'll get Ji Xianyan. After all, he had the mentality of a young man. His thoughts were very simple. Su Fengliu raised his eyebrows, feeling the same way, and waved his hand. Go ahead. Be careful not to be discovered by the three-eyed true monarch. If he beats you up, don't say I didn't warn you. What's there to be afraid of? My father will stop me. Li Ling didn't care. He just needed to beat Yi Xiao up and spread the word. Then he would avenge his father and win the beauty, killing two birds with one stone. He felt smug just thinking about it. He excitedly left the room, employing his breath-concealing technique, and silently crept towards Yi Xiao's pavilion. He didn't want to be discovered by the Taijuan Saint Sun and the others. Even with 3 heads and 6 arms, he couldn't withstand a mob attack, and then he wouldn't even have a place to cry. A crescent moon, half dead and half alive, hung in the sky, emitting a faint light. It was somewhat dim, but for Li Ling, it wasn't a big problem. However, he quickly changed his mind. Approaching the Taijuan Holy Lands complex, he vaguely heard someone crying. What's going on? A dignified heavenly master Holy Land, and now it's haunted. Li Ling stomped his foot, his eyes wide, his hair standing on end. He was still quite afraid of ghosts, and after crouching in a corner listening for a while, he realized the sound was human. He didn't understand why those Taijuan disciples were crying in the middle of the night. He felt a constant sense of dread. Never mind, let's find Yi Xiao first, then leave. Li Ling concealed his breath and quietly crept towards a building. The building was very large, with 2 floors, housing approximately 20-odd Taijuan disciples. Li Ling had sent several disciples to gather information and learn the specific room of Yi Xiao. I'm coming. Li Ling was both nervous and excited, as if he could already see the scene of beating Yi Xiao. He pulled open a small gap in the large door and slipped inside. There, darkness obscured everything. He couldn't see anything. Li Ling's eyes glowed golden, allowing him to see clearly. Looking around, the first floor was a main hall, surrounded by doors to various rooms, and finally, a staircase leading upstairs. Oh. The crying grew louder, seemingly coming from one of the rooms, a mournful wail. Hearing this sound, Li Ling swallowed hard, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead, his heart pounding. Are all Taijuan disciples a bunch of lunatics? Crying in the middle of the night like that. Li Ling cursed inwardly, his heart pounding. He hadn't taken more than a few steps when an icy hand suddenly landed on his shoulder from behind. It was freezing, bone-chilling, like the hand of a corpse. Holy cow! Li Ling shuddered, almost wetting his pants in fear. He quickly rolled forward, then suddenly turned around. Behind him stood a pitch-black, green-faced, fanged ghost knight radiating a chilling aura. Its wide mouth stretched to its ears, letting out a strange, cackling laugh. Little friend, where are you going? Come with me to the underworld. Ghost Knight's voice was like a knife scraping against something deep and piercing. Ah, a ghost. Li Ling, being only 11 or 12 years old, hadn't experienced much, and his face widened in terror at this sight. Then, go to hell, go to hell. Boom! Li Ling reacted somewhat frantically, like a cat whose fur bristled from being provoked. His cultivation surged, his eyes blazing with a brilliant golden light, enough to suppress ordinary spirit realm cultivators as he furiously punched towards Yi Xiao. Even Ghost Knight's spear couldn't help but marvel. This was indeed a peerless genius bearing the eye of the punishing sun god. With just this one punch, few of the elites of Taijuan could be his match. Bang! Ghost Knight spear's 5 fingers, like steel hooks, nearly a meter long and covered in black scales, descended from the sky, forcing the air into an arc, and slammed firmly into Li Ling's fist. The terrifying force suppressed him, and with a thud, Li Ling himself was directly pinned to the ground. The pavilion shook 3 times. The crying stopped abruptly. Turning over the large hand to examine him, Li Ling was buried underground, only his head visible, completely unconscious. Oof, I only used 5/10 of my strength. Ghost Knight's spear was surprised. Li Ling clearly looked very strong, so how could he not even withstand one of his hands? Was he just all talk and no action? Could it be that I'm too strong? Ghost Knight's spear smacked his lips. After entering the spirit realm, he hadn't used his hands. Immortal Foundation, 4 types of true essence, 1,000,000 pounds of strength, plus the added power of the Dragon Tiger Divine Technique, and the 1,000,000-pound boost from the Buddha Golden Body. He seemed to have seriously underestimated his own strength. He extended 2 fingers, pinching Li Ling's head and pulling him out of the pit. Immediately, a smell of urine assailed his nostrils. Why did he pee? Ghost Knight's spear muttered, disgustedly throwing him to the ground. How am I supposed to handle this? I'm a member of the Taijuan sect, scaring a child. What will happen if this gets out? This is bad for my reputation. Shocking, the Taijuan group is a pervert, pretending to be a ghost in the middle of the night, scaring Li Ling so much she almost peed her pants. Ghost Knight thought for a moment, then restored his true form. Using the heaven-shattering mirror to erase all traces of himself, he quickly slipped up to the 2nd floor. What happened? Was it an earthquake? Little Diamond poked his head out from inside the house, then his muscular body squeezed out from the doorway. The Taijuan disciples all rushed out of the house. What are you doing? What are you doing in the middle of the night? The Penglai Saint Sun and the Kunlun Saint Sun were also startled, coming into the building from outside. The commotion was too great, like a thunderclap. Then, everyone saw Li Ling lying unconscious on the ground. It was a heartbreaking sight. Beside the rough handprint, there was also a mark inside the deep pit. Damn, how did Li Ling get here? And he's been beaten like this, knocked down with one hand. The Penglai Saint Sun gasped, his eyelids twitching. He had already figured out how strong Li Ling was these past few days. He was definitely a Saint Sun, a top-tier expert in the selection competition. Yet, such a powerful guy was knocked down with one hand. Su Cheng touched the pit, finding his hand wet. He sniffed, and the smell of urine made him nauseous. Damn, why is there urine here? Su Cheng waved his hand and cursed loudly. The corner of Penglai Saint Sun's mouth twitched, saying, to be able to make Li Ling urinate with one hand, how powerful must his strength be? At least mid-stage spirit realm, or even late stage. Moreover, this isn't an ordinary spirit realm. A prodigy with such talent entering the spirit realm possesses absolutely terrifying combat power. If it really is a disciple of some Taijuan, they could directly sweep through the competition. This Taijuan Saint Sun, didn't know my sacred land was hiding such a character. Taijuan Saint Sun frowned, looking around at the disciples. Little Diamond, Zhao Zikang, and others stared at each other, exchanging bewildered glances. For a moment, speculation arose, with most believing it was a Taijuan disciple. After all, the incident happened in the Taijuan Disciples Pavilion. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Of course, some speculated that someone from another sacred land disliked this kid and wanted to get revenge on him. What's wrong? Yi Xiao came downstairs, feigning surprise. Brother He, you're lucky, otherwise this kid would have attacked you. The Penglai Saint Sun grinned, then recounted the events. No one believed Yi Xiaoyao was responsible. The Taijuan group hadn't cultivated much in the past 3 months, spending their days reading, a complete slacker in cultivation. They were still stuck at the Trujuan realm. How could they possibly have the strength to do that? This kid is truly pitiful. Let's throw him out. Yi Xiaoyao waved his hand. He wouldn't give a good look to someone who was causing him trouble. You dare! Just then, Su Fengliu arrived with the disciples of the Misty Immortal Palace, their aura imposing. Seeing this, the Penglai Saint Sun explained the whole situation. The disciples of the Misty Immortal Palace immediately fell silent, realizing that Li Ling had been in the wrong first. However, looking at the unconscious Li Ling and the handprint, they couldn't help but be shocked. They knew how powerful Li Ling was all too well. To suppress him so easily, no one but Su Fengliu could do it. When did the Taijuan Holy Land produce such a monstrous talent? Li Ling causing trouble with Yi Xiaoyao, pure nonsense. A mere Trujuan realm cultivator, is he worth Li Ling causing trouble for? Earlier, my junior brother heard crying over here. So he came to take a look, not expecting you to be so ruthless. Su Fengliu immediately denied it. Retaliation was absolutely unacceptable, otherwise, he would have to swallow this loss. He could tolerate Li Ling being beaten. It wouldn't have a big impact. But being beaten until he wet himself, that was too much. The news spread, but it was a matter of the Misty Immortal Palace's reputation, and discussing a marriage contract with a primordial Dao embryo was out of the question. If Ji Xianyan asked, "Are you the one who got peed on?" Li Ling would probably shut up on the spot. We're cultivating divine abilities, and you're still looking. What nonsense! You're just looking for trouble with the little group. Little Diamond immediately flared up, scoffing contemptuously. I don't care what divine abilities you're cultivating, you need to give me an explanation for this matter. Let me see who attacked. What great skill! Su Fengliu's face darkened as he looked around. Unconsciously, a colossal aura pressed down, like a heavy mountain. Half-step spirit realm. The key was that invincible aura. As if a god had been reincarnated, the oppressive feeling was extremely strong. What kind of physique does this Misty Immortal Palace's Saint Sun have? So strong. Penlai, Taixuan, and Sucheng were all shocked, their eyes filled with gravity. A formidable opponent. An absolute formidable opponent. Even more terrifying than the heavenly demon sun's physique. This strength, no wonder the Misty Immortal Palace always takes first place every year. Yi Xiaoyao narrowed his eyes. He'd heard rumors that the Misty Immortal Palace's Saint Sun was very strong, his physique unknown, somewhat mysterious. Conversely, his reputation for being a ladies' man was widespread. Now, seeing Su Fengliu's formidable strength, it was beyond his expectations. He could definitely fight to Saint Suns of the same level. Yi Xiaoyao thought, I still need to create a few more powerful divine abilities, otherwise, my Taijuan might not be able to take first place. Unwilling to come out? If so, then let's have a competition with the Taijuan group. I'll force you out. I want to see which immortal can defeat Li Ling with one hand. Su Fengliu's gaze was terrifying, his aura growing stronger and stronger as he glanced at Taijuan and the others. As for Yi Xiaoyao, he completely ignored him. A mere salted fish. What was there to see? Wow, is the Misty Immortal Palace's Saint Sun so arrogant? The disciples of Taijuan Pavilion were also enraged, rolling up their sleeves. It seemed a chaotic battle was about to erupt. Suddenly, two figures entered from outside. Isn't it enough that you've already lost face? Get out of here. Guang Lingjun said coldly, instantly crushing Su Fengliu's imposing aura. Su Fengliu hesitated, sadly retreating. Haha, I was merely having a private conversation with the Qingfeng Holy Lord, and you all caused such a commotion. What? Are you planning a rebellion? Three-eyed True Monarch glared at the Taijuan Pavilion disciples, and everyone immediately fell silent. Then he glanced at Li Ling on the ground, as if smelling urine, his face twitching slightly. Finally his gaze settled on the palm print on the ground and the deep pit above. There were no traces of fierce fighting. The attack was clean and precise. This level of strength. Not below the mid to late stage of the spirit realm. When did my Taijuan produce such a monstrous talent? Three-eyed True Monarch's eyes widened in shock and astonishment. He knew his own disciples well, and none of them seemed capable of such a feat. True Monarch, you're quite good at concealing your true abilities. I didn't know Taijuan had produced such a powerful junior. Guangling Zhen's eyes flickered, and he suddenly let out a soft sigh. The aura is so cleanly concealed, I couldn't even discern it. There's something fishy going on. He didn't believe that the person who attacked was a Dao slaying or Dao integrating expert. Seniors wouldn't intervene in junior conflicts. After he finished speaking, the other's eyes widened, and Su Fengliu was even more shocked. Even Guangling Zhen couldn't identify that person. This matter ends here. Guangling Zhen waved his sleeve and took Li Ling away. The other people from the Misty Immortal Palace also left awkwardly, only Su Fengliu, his eyes sweeping around, coldly snorted. During the competition, I don't believe you won't show your face. Then we'll have a battle after. Saying that, he quickly left. Who exactly is it? Such heaven-shattering techniques? Even Guangling Jun is hiding from it. To be able to make Guangling Jun say that the person who made the move is extraordinary, it seems the guy who made the move is truly terrifying. This competition is going to be exciting. The Penglai Saint's son and Su Cheng both had serious expressions, feeling the pressure. At the same time, they speculated about who the person who made the move was. Especially Su Cheng, he came with the Taijuan disciples and had never heard of such a powerful person. Not to mention them. Little Diamond, Taijuan Saint's son, and the others were all bewildered, looking at each other and feeling that the other was incredibly cunning. Only Three-Eyed True Monarch seemed thoughtful, with some speculation. As if remembering something, his eyelids fluttered, and he couldn't help but yawn, lazily glancing at Yi Xiaoyao. Is it this kid? How is that possible? For the past 3 months, he's either been fishing or reading, and yet his strength has skyrocketed. Three-Eyed True Monarch doubted his own existence. If it were true, then there would be no justice. In another room. Don't pretend to be dead. Pretending to be dead will ruin your reputation. Getting beaten up again, what a disgrace. Guangling Zhen's face was as black as a pot bottom, and he casually threw Li Ling to the ground. Li Ling opened her eyes, blushing with shame, wishing she could find a hole to crawl into. Then he muttered to himself, "It's not my fault. That bastard suddenly appeared, carrying a ghost night spear to scare me. After attaching it, I was knocked unconscious by a hand." He gritted his teeth. How could he not know the reason now? He hated the guy who attacked him. He even put Yi Xiaoyao behind him. Finally, he recounted the events. Su Fengliu, standing beside him, widened his eyes and couldn't help but curse loudly. What a despicable scoundrel, Guang! Ling Zhen's face turned pale and he slammed his hand on the railing of his chair. So he was scared to death, shameful, even more shameful. Su Fengliu cleared his throat and quickly tried to smooth things over. Uncle, it's not his fault. Whether it's a person or a ghost, if it suddenly appears from behind, it will scare him to death. He's only 11 or 12 years old. It's unavoidable. I protected you too well. You haven't experienced any hardships. Guangling Zhen rubbed his forehead, somewhat regretting not sending Li Ling into the blood cave trial earlier. If it were those little demon kids facing this situation, their first reaction would either be to run or to instantly attack and kill. Did you see that person's appearance? Who is it? Guangling Zhen suddenly said, his eyes flashing. To be able to instantly shatter you with one punch and knock you unconscious, there aren't many in this generation. Even in the 9 great sacred lands, the Taijuan sacred land hasn't reported on such a person. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100k VND. Get your gifts now. Could it be that the Taijuan Holy Lord is cultivating a hidden prodigy? Seeing Li Ling shake his head, he couldn't help but lament his son's lack of progress. Don't spread the word about you wetting your pants. Don't even go out before the competition. Your father can't handle this. As for Yi Xiaoyao, don't go looking for trouble with him. You, a true core realm cultivator, bullying a true profound realm cultivator, it won't sound good if word gets out. Guangling Zhen waved his hand, not expecting much from this foolish son. He has talent, but lacks a bit of common sense. Beating up the Yi family brat and expecting to be betrothed to that innate Dao embryo. It's not that simple. Don't worry, junior brother. Your senior brother will stand up for you. During the competition, I believe that guy will come out. And then I'll beat him until he pees too. Su Fengliu comforted Li Ling. Those words weren't an exaggeration. Among the 9 great holy lands, no one in this generation is his match. 10 of the world's greatest divine bodies. He occupies the first place, named Immortal Marshal. The next day, Chief Reporter Su Cheng secretly reported this matter. Immediately, the Heavenly Master Holy Land was in an uproar, everyone wide-eyed and speechless. The Taijuan Holy Land has truly risen to prominence this time. They actually produced such a character, beating Li Ling until he peed himself. Holy cow, amazing. Whose subordinate is this? So incredibly brave. Example, exaggeration. Li Ling was beaten until he peed himself. The mysterious person is likely a Taijuan disciple. Did you hear? Li Ling was beaten until he peed himself until he bled. Did you hear? Li Ling was beaten until he defecated by the mysterious Taijuan person, kneeling on the ground begging for forgiveness, urine all over the place. The Heavenly Master Holy Land, from top to bottom, was in shock. The discussions were deafening, and the rumors became increasingly bizarre. The Heavenly Master Holy Land. It boasts dozens of large basketball courts and a dueling arena inside, with 9 arenas erected, densely packed and incredibly sturdy. On all 4 sides are circular auditoriums, resembling a bird's nest. At this moment, the air is filled with the clamor of people. Tens of thousands of disciples from the Heavenly Master Holy Land have excitedly gathered to watch the spectacle. Not only that, but several major righteous forces, sects, and clans are also present in the important auditoriums. Among them are sect leaders, elders, former clan disciples, and reporters from the Tao Alliance. The Holy Land competition, held every 5 years, is a truly magnificent event, attracting widespread attention. Those who make it public are almost all future unparalleled powerhouses, ancient figures who will be considered contenders thousands of years from now. I wonder which Holy Land will come in second place this time. I guess it will be the Guisu Holy Land. A shrewd, experienced, middle-aged man sitting upright in the auditorium said expectantly. The sect master of the Angel Sect, a sect that amassed wealth through investment, used the identity of an angel investor to cultivate extensive connections, investing in the most talented individuals of each era. Anyone they invested in would inevitably become a saint. As for how they invested, it was simple. They scattered money. They scattered money like crazy. Over millions of years, various sects have been destroyed, risen, and destroyed again, like leeks being cut one after another. Only the Angel Sect remained steadfast and unwavering. Because, through countless investments, 6 of the 9 sacred lands were firmly under the Angel Sect's control. And this middle-aged man, named Li Fengxin, was the #1 gold medal angel investor in the Kangyuan realm. Brother Li's judgment is always spot on. Since you just said so, the second one must be the Gixu sacred land. This time I want to invest in the Gixu Saint Sun. Who knows, he might become a great emperor in the future. Other sects chimed in. No one mentioned the first place. What more could one ask for? It was undoubtedly the misty immortal palace. Another gray-robed old man stroked his beard. After he finished speaking, silence fell for a moment, and strange looks appeared in their eyes. This gray-robed old man was an elder of the Angel Sect, a powerful and renowned figure, not inferior to Li Feng. However, his reputation was terrible. He was known as the demon investor by the human venerable. In his lifetime, he had invested in 107 young prodigies, all of whom were contemporary geniuses. He was called the demon investor because all 107 of those prodigies he invested in had perished. It wasn't that they were being turned into mummified corpses by the demonic Tao, but rather that they were dismembered and their bones ground to dust. Each one's fate was more gruesome than the last. It's over. Even the demon elder said so. This Taijuan Holy Land is definitely at the bottom of the rankings. It's likely that several more will die. A dozen or so disciples shook their heads and sighed. Originally, they had heard that the Taijuan Holy Land had produced a mysterious person who seemed very powerful. Now it seems Taijuan Holy Land is undoubtedly at the bottom, and that mysterious person's fate will probably not be good either. HMPH, what do you know? This time I'm absolutely certain I won't be wrong. I heard rumors before that the Taijuan ancestor created 100 cultivation techniques. If this is true, he can definitely compete for second place. The demon elder snorted, his face tense. This time, he absolutely had to restore his reputation. An 8-year-old boy creating cultivation techniques? Such an unbelievable thing, and you believe it. Creating 100 techniques, then it's like a little cow riding a broomstick, soaring to the heavens. Don't believe the rumors. Don't believe the gossip. Let's see what you and I can do. The crowd shook their heads. Even those who were skeptical now didn't believe it. They were determined to listen to the old man's words. The people from the misty Holy Land have arrived. Wow, that's Su Fengliu. He's so damn handsome. Is this Su Fengliu the #1 most affectionate person in the misty Holy Land? He's incredibly handsome, even tragically so. A group of people approached from afar, led by Su Fengliu and Li Ling, along with over 100 young men from the misty Holy Land. It was as if the atmosphere had been ignited. The vast arena instantly erupted. Female disciples from smaller sects cheered, while female disciples from larger sects cursed loudly. Su Fengliu, a romantic figure of this generation in the Kengyuan realm, was praised for his ability to pass through countless flower gardens without a single leaf clinging to him. Dousely, may I ask what you think about the incident of being beaten until he urinated and bled? I am a reporter from Daoming. Please answer directly. A crowd of Daoming reporters, holding commemorative photos and cameras, rushed forward, snapping pictures in a frenzy. Many more scrambled, using megaphones to question him. Li Ling's face turned pale. He wished he could tear these Daoming reporters' mouths apart. This is purely fabricated and untrue. After the competition ends, I will represent Li Ling in issuing a rebuttal. Although young, Su Fengliu was experienced. He smiled, facing the cameras of the commemorative photos and cameras. But deep down, it's like being stuck together. My lady, we must punish that mysterious person. And that motherfucker who peed blood. So may I ask what your thoughts are on this competition, Taoist Su? First, absolutely not second place. Second, absolutely first place. Under the siege of a group of Taoist Ming reporters, the Pyamio disciples squeezed into the dueling arena. The person from Giksu Holy Land has arrived. Holy cow, is that Giksu Holy Son Mo Sin Dao? What heavy killing intent. The human king body from Giksu Holy Land has also arrived. Dragon's Gate and Tiger's Stride, radiating domineering aura. And there's the Sun and Moon Palaces, Sun and Moon Holy Sun, rumored to possess the Sun and Moon divine body. I wonder if that's true. This competition is truly a gathering of heroes. It should be a fierce battle. As the various holy lands arrived, the dueling arena became increasingly lively. Countless people were excited and their eyes filled with anticipation. The Heavenly Masters, Saint Sun, Zhang Jianyan. It's him who wrote the monumental work on postpartum care for dragon mothers and the close connection of postpartum intimacy. It's rumored that many disciples of the Taijuan Holy Land have switched professions to become nurses after reading his masterpiece. I'm a reporter from Daoming. May I ask, Taoist Zhang, how did you write such a powerful work? Did you really delve into this area? You were hunted by a true dragon clan dragon mother. Did you really do something unspeakable to her? The people from the Heavenly Master Holy Land were instantly surrounded by Daoming reporters. Ladies and gentlemen, I will explain your questions in a later work. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Zhang Jianyan wore a beaming smile, seemingly delighted that others understood his great work. In contrast, the group of Heavenly Master disciples behind him blushed with embarrassment. Next came the arrival of the 3 sacred lands, Penglai, Divine Sword, and Kunlun. These 3 sacred lands didn't generate much buzz, nor were they the top 3 contenders in the competition. The reporters had no interest in them. Especially the Kunlun sacred land, he was their rival, their comrade, so they had even less interest in interviewing him. Finally, the Taijuan sacred land arrived. The atmosphere in the entire arena reached its peak, erupting like boiling oil. Because whether it was the mysterious person who urinated on Li Ling yesterday, or the previous rumors about the 100 techniques, each one was more explosive than the last. And the most talked about figure was undoubtedly Yi Xiaoyao from the Taijuan group. This individual, in his mortal form, entered the blood cave and killed several saintly disciples. He even broke the ancient iron laws, becoming the first mortal to embark on the path of cultivation. A saintly king of the demonic Dao also died because of him, and ultimately made a 3-year pact with the most mysterious and terrifying great witch god in the demonic Dao. It was thought he would rise to prominence. Unexpectedly, after the Blood Cave trial, this young Taijuan disciple began to lie around idly, showing no interest in cultivation, and didn't even participate in the competition. This further astonished everyone, sparking countless curious eyes. This guy is already so big at 8 years old, truly an extraordinary person. I want to invest. The demonic investor, the old demon, saw the young Taijuan disciple and his eyes lit up, clapping his hands and laughing. The surrounding sects turned pale, hastily trying to dissuade him. You can't invest in him like this. Could being valued by this old man have a good ending? What if you're crushed to dust? Wouldn't those 7 ancestors of Taijuan kill you? Meanwhile, at the edge of the arena, Yishaya walked among the Taijuan disciples, looking around in all directions, a faint smile on his face. It's really lively. I am Guling. May I ask, Taijuan, what are your thoughts on this competition? And did you really create 100 martial arts techniques? Everyone knows that creating martial arts techniques is incredibly difficult, almost impossible. 100 martial arts techniques that shock the world. Is this a mix-up among Taijuan's high-ranking officials? A large crowd of excited reporters rushed forward, led by a beautiful, charming woman with captivating eyes, a true beauty. The #1 female reporter of Dao Mingguling Immortal. I cannot answer. Taijuan Saint Sun stepped forward to stop them. Yi Zhaoyao's eyes were strange. If he remembered correctly, this was the one who reported the disappearance of Dao Tianqi Saint Sun. Fellow Taoist, rumors say you want to get engaged to a primordial Dao embryo, but is that true? Rumors outside say you're lazy in your cultivation and unworthy of Jixianyan. What do you think? As expected of the top female reporter, her questions were sharper than the last. Hearing this, the faces of the Taijuan disciples flushed red, almost ready to fight. The young master is delaying his cultivation for our sake. Sooner or later he'll surpass the geniuses of all 4 directions. That's right, and worthy of a primordial Dao embryo. Who spread that rumor? Bring him out. I'll beat him to death. Little Diamond, Zhao Zikang, and others were furious. Humiliating them was acceptable, but humiliating the young master was unacceptable. Yi Xiao had poured his heart and soul into creating cultivation techniques for them, working tirelessly day and night. In their hearts, Yi Xiaoyao's position was unshakable and inviolable. Ancient Spirit Immortal was slightly startled, quite surprised. She seemed not to have expected Yi Xiaoyao's reputation in Taijuan to be so high. So how do you all approach this competition? Rumors from the 9 great sacred lands say that the Taijuan sacred land will repeat its previous failure and come in last place. Ancient Spirit Immortal. S face was radiant with a smile, but her question was quite irritating. Nonsense, we will definitely take first place in this competition. Don't underestimate us. Little Diamond's temper flared up on the spot, his anger uncontrollable. He was bringing up old wounds and humiliating people. Even the 3-eyed true monarch, who was gathered with the high-ranking officials of the 9 great sacred lands in the distance, had a dark expression on his face. As soon as the words left his mouth, a commotion arose from all directions, and strange glances were directed at them. Competing for first place, even the Guisu sacred land wouldn't dare say that. The Piamiya sacred land has held a stable position for so many years. None of the sacred lands have been successfully challenged, so where do these Taijuan disciples get their confidence from? Many powerful figures shook their heads in disapproval. Even if the Taijuan Holy Land produced a mysterious individual, the ranking of Holy Lands was based on a combined score, and one person alone couldn't possibly lift the bar. As far as they knew, besides that, only the Taijuan Holy Sun was worth considering. What a boastful statement. This Taijuan Holy Land is becoming increasingly reckless. Su Fengliu, who had a conflict with Taijuan, shook his head. Beside him, Li Ling sneered, her eyes searching, seemingly trying to find the person who had scared him so much. As for the other Holy Lands prodigies, they were utterly silent, wondering where Taijuan's strength lay. Not being second from the bottom is already good enough. To claim first place, even our Guisu Holy Land wouldn't dare claim that. Several prodigies from Guisu Holy Land were dissatisfied. They were all hot-blooded youths. How could they accept such words? Upon hearing those words, Fairy Guling's eyes lit up, and she quickly instructed the reporters holding commemorative photos to start filming. A sensational topic. Absolutely a sensational topic. To dare to make such bold statements if they didn't win first place or even finished last, this topic would definitely be on the front page headlines. Shocking, Taijuan Holy Land declares they'll compete for first place, but suffers a humiliating defeat. The Taijuan disciples rushed into the arena, but Yi Xiao ignored the reporters and climbed to the highest seat in the auditorium, sitting next to Three-Eyed True Monarch. He wasn't participating in the competition, and his seniority in Taijuan was high enough that no one objected to him sitting there. What does Taijuan Holy Land really want to compete for first place? As soon as he sat down, he heard Guangling Zheng calmly say, "The representatives of the Supreme Elders from." They were well aware of the strength of the major Holy Lands. Then I want to see if the Taijuan Holy Land has the ability to do that. Guangling Zheng glanced at the Three-Eyed True Monarch, his tone neither warm nor cold. The Three-Eyed True Monarch's expression darkened, and he glared back at Guangling Zheng. Beside him, Yi Xiao calmly said, "If we can take first place, what will Guangling Zheng do?" After he finished speaking, many Holy Lands looked on with strange expressions, seemingly surprised that this young man was so bold as to challenge Guangling Zheng. "Young man, this fellow doesn't have a very good temper. If you anger him, we won't be able to stop him from beating you up." A black-robed old man from the ruins of the Void Holy Land laughed loudly. This person, the Nether True Immortal, is also a Dao-slaying king, an absolute powerhouse within this realm. As expected of the Yi family, their temperament is indeed stubborn, but first place is fine. A gray-robed old man from the Emperor's Hill Holy Land shook his head and smiled. Guangling Zheng frowned, somewhat enthusiastically. "You're even more boastful than your father. If you can get first place, I'll give you a great saint artifact." Upon hearing this, everyone around was astonished and couldn't help but exclaim, "Truly worthy of the misty Holy Land, so wealthy and extravagant." However, it was obvious that Guangling Zheng was just saying it casually. Yi Xiao wouldn't get a saint artifact at all. Good? Yi Xiao's eyes lit up. After thinking for a moment, he looked at the others and smiled. "Senior brothers, would you like to place a bet too?" Those people were all heavyweights from the 9 great holy lands. Let's just go all in. HMPH. Where did you get your confidence from, kid? Nether True Immortal couldn't help but laugh, finding Yi Xiao's arrogant words amusing. "All right, if your Taijuan Holy Land truly takes first place, I'll give you a life-enhancing holy pill." Yi Xiao's eyes brightened even more. This pill was an absolute treasure, its value immeasurable. Swallowing one would instantly heal even a saint. An absolute healing holy medicine. Although not as powerful as a great saint artifact, its value was still considerable. Nether True Immortal paused, a smile playing on his lips. "If you can't get it, young man, tell me honestly, how did a mortal body break the eternal iron laws?" The others narrowed their eyes upon hearing this. This question, let alone them, even a great saint would find it difficult to guess or solve. Let's consider this a bet. I have a granddaughter with extraordinary talent. If she wins first place, I'll let her be your attendant. What's wrong with that? The gray-robed old man, Emperor Q, chuckled like a cunning old fox. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Anyway, it's impossible to uncover a secret empty-handed, so why not do it? The Sun and Moon Palace, the people of Penglai under the moonlight, all spoke up. Only the Heavenly Origin Saint Master remained silent and willing to get involved. He suddenly glanced at Yi Xiao, then at his old friends and couldn't help but sigh. These old geezers, do they really think Yi Xiao is a child? This is a huge loss. The Heavenly Origin Saint Master thought to himself. That Yi Xiao kid, full of wicked thoughts. Even the Saint King of the Hewan ancestor was badly deceived. Is it so difficult to trick you guys? The Three-Eyed True Monarch's face was expressionless, but a smile flickered in his eyes. He greatly admired Yi Xiao. How strong were the disciples of the Taijuan sect? As an elder, how could he not know? He might not be able to defeat the prodigies of other holy lands, but his overall strength was definitely enough to rival the top. The Holy Lord Qingfeng looked at Yi Xiao, seemingly about to say something, but then heard Yi Xiao chuckle and say, "How about we bet on entering the Heavenly Master's Sacred Land Scripture Repository?" "You can't enter the Scripture Repository," the Holy Lord Qingfeng said helplessly. Yi Xiao had mentioned it yesterday, and he was about to refuse. The Heavenly Master's Sacred Land Scripture Repository was of great importance, and absolutely no outsiders were allowed in, even if Yi Xiao's fourth grandfather, the blood god ancestor, came. Just then, the three-eyed true monarch added fuel to the fire. Haha, Taoist Qingfeng, are you perhaps afraid that the Taijuan Sacred Land will win first place? The others also smiled. Hearing this, the Holy Lord Qingfeng was speechless for a long time. Finally, he shook his head and laughed. True monarch, don't use provocation. Alright, if your Taijuan can really win first place, what difference does it make if I let the Xiao Sacred Land enter the scripture repository? Good. Yi Xiao clapped his hands and laughed loudly, a sigh of relief in his heart. After all this planning, this old fox has finally fallen for the trap. The 9 elite members of the Great Sacred Lands were all in their places. The Qingfeng Sacred Lord slowly rose, standing on the platform and surveying the entire arena. Everyone, please be quiet. The rules for this competition are the same as before, a ranking system. 9 sacred sons will be divided into 9 groups. Each disciple has 2 points. Winning 1 match earns 1 point. Losing 1 match reduces 1 point. A draw results in no point difference. If a disciple encounters a fellow disciple, they can both forfeit, marking a draw. Once 2 points are awarded, they are eliminated. After 10 rounds, the top 5 from each group will advance to the finals. The Qingfeng Sacred Lord spoke slowly. He paused, glanced at Yi Xiao, and smiled, saying, the final ranking of the Sacred Lands will be based on the combined points of all the Sacred Land members. Upon hearing this, the nearly 100,000 people in the arena instantly fell silent. Then a fierce and intense atmosphere erupted. The elites of the 9 great sacred lands unleashed their fists and palms, their gazes towards the other sacred lands filled with aggression. This time, I will sweep across all the sacred lands and enter the top 10. Showing off is like the wind, always accompanying me. Today, no one can stop me. Numerous disciples were incredibly excited, eager to step onto the stage and crush the other sacred lands. Young people crave fame above all else. Who wouldn't want to be high above, admired by others? There were also many disciples who felt apprehensive, fearing their opponent might be a saint son of some caliber. Let's begin the drawing of lots. The Qingfeng Saint Lord waved his hand, and 9 Taoist-robed elders produced a water mirror, its light constantly flowing. Nearly 2,000 disciples rushed forward, reaching into the mirror. A hazy mist enveloped them, and they each drew a bamboo slip. A number was written on each slip. As for the 9 holy disciples, there was no need for a draw. They each occupied a separate arena, and the number on the bamboo slip was 1. 9th arena, 22. Who is my opponent? Little Diamond was surprised, and stretched his head to look at Sumaoan's bamboo slip again. Above it was 8th arena, 31. Seeing this, he was immediately disappointed. The goddess and he were not in the same arena. After everyone had finished drawing their numbers, the old man in the Taoist robe looked at the water mirror in his hand, and a line of text appeared on it. First arena, 19 verses 23. Second arena, 30 verses 21. Third. As the old man in the Taoist robe finished speaking, the disciple whose number was called out. They scrambled onto the stage. Damn it, whether I like it or not, I just arrived and already encountered the most ruthless opponent. On the first platform, a disciple of the ruins of the void turned pale. In front of him was the saint son of the misty holy land, Su Fengliu. Kid, will you come down yourself, or should I knock you down? Su Fengliu laughed. I'll come down myself. The ruins of the void disciple didn't say a word, directly jumping down, his face full of misfortune and regret. What a loss! Among the 9 great holy lands, the misty holy land was the strongest. Although he didn't know what kind of physique Su Fengliu had, his combat power was absolutely terrifying. Fighting him was just asking for trouble. It was better to conserve his energy and save it for the next match to turn the tables. Number 19, Su Fengliu wins. Let's give him a point. The old man in the Taoist robe didn't even lift his eyelids. The various forces in the stand shook their heads at this. That kid was too unlucky. Meanwhile, the other 8 arenas were successively filled with contestants. It's worth mentioning that. On the 9th arena, one of the 2 contestants was Wang Li, a disciple of the Taijuan sect. His opponent was a disciple of the Guisu Holy Land. I'd like to see what kind of strength this Taijuan disciple possesses to have claimed first place. Su Fengliu paid close attention to the Taijuan Holy Land disciple, wanting to know who this mysterious person was. He observed Wang Li for a long time. He was at the peak of the true core stage. Most of the participating disciples were at the late or peak of the true core stage, with a few at the half-step spirit realm. As for the spirit realm, there wasn't a single one. Being at the peak of the true core stage was already considered good. However, for Su Fengliu, it was quite ordinary, and his opponent was at the half-step spirit realm. A battle with no suspense. It seems like the start is unfavorable. As soon as a disciple takes the stage, they're already going to be defeated. On the viewing platform, the Holy Lord Qingfeng smiled, his eyes narrowed as he looked towards Yi Xiao. Haha, if I remember correctly, the kid is the young fellow from the Liu family, Liu Yizheng, a king-level physique, quite strong. The person from the Penglai Holy Land, under the moonlight, laughed heartily and spoke, also glancing at Yi Xiao. Liu Yizheng, with his kneeling water king-level physique, was absolutely a top-tier prodigy in the Liu family. Not to mention opponents at the peak of the true core realm, even those at the half-step spirit realm would find it difficult to defeat Liu Yizheng. The others also looked somewhat eager, wanting to see what expression this young Yi Xiao would have. Is that so, Brother Qingfeng? You should have said so earlier. Yi Xiao heard this. Looking at the ninth person on the stage, his eyes held a strange expression. Wang Li, this chosen one, had entered the blood cave trial with him? He understood him very well. Raising his eyebrows, he stepped back from his position behind others. This old man from the Taijuan Holy Land was the most hidden, and he didn't know how many trump cards he had, but he guessed he could probably match a saint son of the same level in strength. Ha ha! The Qingfeng Holy Lord chuckled twice, nonchalantly. This kid was still talking big. The others also shook their heads and laughed. Meanwhile, on the arena, Wang Li, dressed in a gray robe, had an ordinary face and an unremarkable aura. I don't want to waste time. You go down yourself. Liu Yizheng waved his hand, not wanting to fight. There were 10 rounds of fighting today, and he didn't want to waste his energy and true essence on a Taijuan minor character. It was too pointless. Anyway, this is our Taijuan's first match. I don't want to go down empty-handed. Please, senior brother, be gentle in your attack. Wang Li seemed very frightened and whispered, That's right, you Taijuan's first battle. You surrendered before it even began. It's a complete disgrace to you Taijuan. Liu Yizheng heard this and felt it made sense. He quickly stepped forward. Since you're so sensible, I'll go easy on you, don't worry. It won't hurt at all. Thank you, senior brother. Wang Li nodded, then patted his storage bag and took out a white morning outfit and white shoes, even carrying a morning staff. Then, under the stunned gazes of everyone, Wang Li faithfully put on the morning clothes, tied a hemp rope around his waist, covered his head with a white cloth, and held the morning staff. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Completely dressed in morning attire, burning paper offerings. Holy cow, what the hell is going on? It's a competition. What's the meaning of this morning attire? Damn. Why the sudden change in style? Countless people in the stand stared in disbelief, not knowing what was happening. This wasn't the first time they'd seen a competition. In previous years, competitions hadn't been this bizarre. Was it ghost possession? Junior brother Xiao, what's the meaning of this? Even the Qingfeng Saint Lord was bewildered. Having lived for thousands of years, he'd seen at least 100 competitions. This was the first time he'd seen someone directly enter the arena wearing morning clothes. What? Can burning paper offerings send enemies away? Yi Xiao was also stunned, thinking for a moment before suddenly realizing. Immediately, he heard the king of the central arena seem to remember something and ask, Senior brother, what's your name? Liu Yizheng was stunned, unconsciously replying, Liu Yizheng, yes. Wang Li nodded solemnly. Then, amidst countless bewildered and trembling gazes, Wang Li, leaning on his morning staff, revealed a sorrowful expression and wailed. His voice was mournful and sorrowful, as if possessing endless magic, causing listeners to shed tears and feel heartbroken. Liu Yizheng, you died a terrible death. Liu Yizheng. Taijuan has a divine ability. Its name is Morning. Oh, brother Liu, you're dead. What am I going to do now? How am I supposed to save you? Wang Li cried, lamenting and weeping. Have I been in seclusion for too long, detached from society? I don't understand at all. I don't understand either, but I'm very moved. Damn, Liu Yizheng is standing right in front of him, and he goes up and cries for his life. Motherfucker, what bad luck. On the stage, a commotion arose from all sides, people staring in stunned silence. Even the sharpest-eyed golden medal angel investor, Li Fengxin, was wide-eyed. This, if you can't beat the opponent, you're going to vomit them out. This is too outrageous. Su Fengliu's mouth gaped open, and Li Ling beside him was also petrified, like a complete idiot. Damn, who the hell are you crying for? Liu Yizheng, enraged, charged forward with his sword. He wanted to teach this bastard a lesson. Boom! But at that moment, a visible ripple surged up, growing larger and larger, finally engulfing Liu Yizheng with a wailing cry like a raging sea. A minor Earth-level sound wave divine ability, not good. Liu Yizheng's expression suddenly changed, wanting to stop it. But it was too late. The sound wave shook Liu Yizheng's blood, his head buzzed, and blood flowed from all his orifices. This cry, it's poisonous. With a thud, Liu Yizheng fell to the ground, unconscious. It wasn't that he wasn't strong. He hadn't even used 3/10 of his strength to deal with Wang Li, and he had already taken a powerful blow from Wang Li. Caught completely off guard, how could he possibly withstand it? Brother Liu, don't die. Wang Li rushed forward and embraced the unconscious Liu Yizheng, overwhelmed with grief, and it took him more than half a day to recover from his sorrow. He stood up, like an actor finishing a scene, his face expressionless as he began to remove his mourning clothes. Needless to say, once he put on the mourning clothes, the feeling of immersion instantly surged. The mourning divine ability, the more immersed and sorrowful he became, the more powerful it grew. Number 37 Wang Li wins. The old man in the Taoist robe, the referee, was also surprised, hesitating before declaring Wang Li the winner. This is shocking. This mourning is actually a sound wave divine ability. Damn, which ancient sage created this divine ability? It's incredibly abnormal. It's truly world-shattering. How could this even work? Liu Yizheng's defeat was truly unfair. He didn't even display his full strength. It started like that. Who could have prevented it? Countless people felt their scalps tingle in the chaotic wind. The 9 great sacred lands and dozens of sects had seen much of the world, but this unconventional divine ability was something they were seeing for the first time. Damn, it's because I'm not perverted enough that I don't get along with you guys. A disciple from one of the 9 great sacred lands exclaimed. In shock. I wondered why there were so many cries coming from the Taijuan sacred land 2 days ago. It turns out they were secretly cultivating this divine ability, truly despicable. Su Fengliu was stunned, unable to resist cursing. How outrageous! This Taijuan disciples, truly talented. The Holy Lord Than. Just moments ago, he had said that Taijuan would undoubtedly lose, but now he's suffered a humiliating defeat, and so quickly at that. When did Taijuan Holy Land acquire such a devilish divine ability? The 9th true person of Guisu Holy Land's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. He shivered with cold. His disciples losing in this manner was truly the most humiliating. Under the moonlight, Guangling Jun, the gray-robed old man of DQ Holy Land, and others also gasped, feeling a pang of pain in their teeth. Psychological tactics. Your Guisu Holy Land disciples lack psychological fortitude, Yi Ziyao said with a faint smile. He couldn't help but marvel at Wang Li's tactics. He started by feigning weakness, then used funeral paper to lure the opponent into breaking through their defenses, and then launched a sudden attack with mournful cries, completely taking them down. He didn't even give them a chance to use their skills. Don't speak so arrogantly. 9 true immortal snapped, his anger uncontrollable at Yi Zhouyao's smug smile. Next time, when my disciples encounter him again, they will be prepared and will surely win. 9 true immortal snorted coldly, extremely displeased. This kind of tactic is only good once, not twice. It's ultimately just a minor trick. Now, the other 8 great sacred lands are watching and are all on guard. Your Taijuan still can't change your fate of finishing last, Guang Lingjun said calmly. He despised this kind of opportunistic tactic. To win, one must win fairly and squarely. The people under the moonlight, the gray-robed old man, and the others also nodded in agreement, still not taking Taijuan's sacred land seriously. In their opinion, this competition, knowing they couldn't defeat the other holy lands, the Taijuan Holy Land began to take a wilder path. Unfortunate. The first attempt might succeed. The second attempt is impossible. Keep watching, Lord Yanling, don't end up like the Holy Lord Qingfeng, getting slapped in the face. Yi Xiaolao smiled faintly and said. After saying that, the Qingfeng Holy Lord's face trembled. There was nothing more to say. Ah, I'll wait. Guanglingzheng let out a sigh and said calmly. The Misty Holy Land had firmly held the top position for countless years. Its disciples were all fierce tigers, and Yi Xiaoya's desire for his disciples to seize the top spot was merely wishful thinking. On the arena, the battles continued. On the remaining 8 arenas, like the 8 immortals crossing the sea, they all displayed their divine abilities. The most admirable were the disciples of the Misty Holy Land. Each was very powerful, possessing few divine abilities, but all were top tier, and their combat experience was equally rich. Next was the Gixu Holy Land, which had proven Liu Yizheng to be an unexpected surprise. This Holy Land was renowned for its fighting prowess. Its disciples' control of true essence had reached a level of mastery. Even if their opponents were slightly stronger, they could always defeat them with their fighting skills and experience. Tan. Finally, there's the Heavenly Master Holy Land and the Emperor's Hill Holy Land. As for the others, it's not that the Holy Lands aren't good, but rather that the physique of this generation's disciples seems inferior, just like the Divine Sword Holy Land. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. With their swordsmanship renowned throughout the world and their offensive prowess being second to none, it's a pity that very few have cultivated their swordsmanship to the transformation realm, let alone condense sword intent. Finally, it was the turn of the Taijuan Holy Land again. This time, the one who stepped forward was an ordinary disciple, a simple farmer with a resolute face, only at the late stage of the true core realm. His eyes seemed to have a serious, sideways glance, never looking directly at anyone. His opponent was a young man in a yellow robe from the Emperor Q Holy Land. As the two ascended the stage, they immediately attracted many eyes. The Taijuan Holy Land's unusual performance earlier was unforgettable. Their opportunistic defeat of Liu Yizheng. This time, the Taijuan disciple was only at the late stage of the true core realm. In the competition, they were already considered among the weaker group. HMPH, I didn't expect his opponent to be Huang Longsheng. This guy is quite hot-tempered. Although he's at the peak of the true core stage, his strength is top tier. Even if that kid uses a sneak attack and surprises everyone, he can't possibly defeat the opponent. That guy named Wang Li earlier was too reckless. It made people furious. Countless people were discussing loudly, all extremely expectant. Haha, late true core stage. How can he turn the tables? Guanglingzheng glanced at Yi Ziyao, saying indifferently, with Liu Yizheng's lesson, Huang Longsheng wouldn't be careless and would definitely use his full strength. Besides, there's something strange about this Taijuan disciple of yours. Is there something wrong with his eyes? Why doesn't he look people in the eye? The 9 Nether Immortal was astonished. He noticed that the Taijuan disciple had one eye looking up at the sky and the other down at the ground, completely ignoring his opponent. HMPH, a Taijuan Holy Land disciple with such mediocre cultivation, yet so arrogant and condescending. Where does he get such confidence? There? Gray-robed old man from the Emperor Q Holy Land snorted coldly, clearly displeased. He didn't think the disciple had a visual impairment. He simply felt the other party was deliberately belittling their disciple. The other Dao-slaying king was also puzzled. In the Misty Holy Land, every year, there was never a Taijuan disciple as arrogant as you, completely disregarding your opponent. On the arena, facing this guy who looked down at the sky with one eye on the earth, Huang Longsheng felt insulted and was furious. Who are you looking down on? Huang Longsheng's face was grim. With a clang, he drew out his long saber, its blade gleaming with a cold light. His peak true core cultivation erupted, stirring up a strong wind on the ground. Bang! He took a step forward, directly unleashing his saber technique, instantly splitting open 36 saber beams, each nearly a meter long. Their terrifying power overwhelming as they slash down towards the field. Senior brother Wang Li has won, so I naturally can't let my fellow disciples be hindered. I absolutely cannot let the group lose face. Gao Ruan looked up at Yi Xiao in the stands, gritting his teeth. He considered himself equally talented, only possessing superior willpower. Then he took out the brush he had prepared earlier and began rapidly applying makeup to his face. Damn, what the hell is this Taijuan Holy Land doing? Countless people were stunned, unable to understand. The previous one was burning paper for mourning, and this one was applying makeup. What's the meaning of this? Fight, big brother. Underestimating me, utterly underestimating me. Huang Longxing's eyes blazed with anger. This guy completely disregarded him. Boom! 36 streaks of sword light became even more ferocious, blocking the opponent's retreat, enough to kill an ordinary half-step spirit realm expert on the spot. The power was terrifying. Almost at the moment the sword light reached him, a loud bang. In the eyes of countless wide-eyed fools, that guy from the Taijuan Holy Land transformed, turning into a giant worm, twisting his waist and shaking his hips, actually squeezing through the gaps between the 36 streaks of sword light. What the hell is this? Huang Longsheng was also stunned, his face full of disbelief. He had seen many divine abilities, only similar illusion techniques, but illusion techniques couldn't change one's physical form. He had actually transformed. Never heard of, never seen before. This secret technique, wow. Many astonished shouts erupted from the stands. Wang Lingchen's eyes shone with divine light as he suddenly stood up. Meanwhile, in the center of the arena, having narrowly escaped the 36 streaks of sword light, he was once again transformed. It must be said, he was extraordinarily diligent. This divine ability had been cultivated to the transformation realm. His hand speed was unbelievably fast, the colored paint flying off his body in a blinding flash. No matter what you transform into, today you will lose. Only I can win. Huang Longsheng's face was ferocious, suddenly turning his head and mobilizing all his true essence. His black hair fluttered like a demon, directly unleashing his most powerful divine ability, Raging Tyrant Blade Technique. However, the opponent's speed was even faster. In an instant, Huang Longsheng witnessed a scene he would never forget in his life. His head felt like it had been struck by a sledgehammer. His whole body was engorged with blood. Even his divine ability was temporarily halted, suffering a backlash, his true essence instantly becoming chaotic. And the entire arena fell silent in that instant. From the Qingfeng Holy Lord and the high-ranking officials of the 9 great holy lands, to the dozen or so sects and great clans, and the Tao Alliance reporters, a full 100,000 people. Each one was struck as if by lightning, all turned to stone. Their faces were filled with disbelief. They only saw, opposite Huang Longsheng, standing there a beautiful, fair-skinned, naked, alluring young woman. Her curves were enormous, her buttocks incredibly shapely, her contours clearly defined. Yi Ziya was also stunned. He truly hadn't expected that his creation, the painted skin transformation technique, would be played like this by this guy. It exploded. It was absolutely explosive. Countless men present, one by one, had noses that nearly bled, their eyes widening in shock. Huang Longsheng, being a young man, couldn't possibly withstand such temptation. His eyes widened, his reason almost completely lost. He panicked, hastily suppressing his chaotic true essence. But a second later, in front of the alluring young woman, Hong Ho's face flushed, and she let out a voice that numbed everyone. Oh, Huang, senior brother Huang, come on, have fun. Anyway, there's plenty of time. Huang Longsheng spat blood from his nostrils. His brain instantly froze, his lower body turned to stone, and the surging true essence within him was uncontrollable. Meanwhile, many men in the arena trembled violently, their faces showing expressions as if they had seen a ghost. Boom! At this moment, the beautiful young woman suddenly attacked, her linky sword techniques pouring out like a storm, instantly knocking Huang Longsheng off the stage. Clean, swift, completely powerless to resist. No! Huang Longsheng won without any resistance. This scene, along with the other few people who had fought like dogs in the arena, formed a stark contrast. Everyone was stunned, completely unable to believe that the guy from the Taijuan Holy Land could be so unconventional. This maneuver, it's so damn outrageous. The times change, the times change. Li Feng, the investor of the Golden Metal Angel, his fingers trembling with fear, stared intently without blinking. Wasn't this much better than any fight they'd ever seen? Meanwhile, the dye on Huang Longsheng's body fell off, transforming him from a seductive young woman back to his original appearance. This left Annie in the stands feeling disappointed. I'll report, I refuse. He used yellow, I'll report. Huang Longsheng knocked off the arena, spat blood profusely, his face flushed red as he roared, his eyes almost turning red. Unjust. So unjust. He absolutely never imagined the other party would be so seductive, transforming into a seductive woman like Guagua. He, with his youthful vigor, rarely interacted with women, so how could he possibly withstand this stimulation? The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Play mobile movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. That's right, report. He's cheating. What a beast. What kind of monstrous divine power is this? This round doesn't count. We must start again. That brat transformed into a woman. This is seduction. This is against the rules. Below the arena, a group of disciples from the Emperor's Mountain Holy Land immediately began shouting, filled with anger. Given Huang Long's strength, if that guy hadn't suddenly transformed into a naked woman, interrupting his divine abilities and causing his true essence to become chaotic, how could he have lost? Unfair. So unfair. Although it's a bit unethical, it doesn't seem to be against the rules. 46 wins. The old man in the Taoist robe thought for a long time before finally announcing the result. Such a thing had never happened before. It was always a life or death battle, never transforming into a woman and seducing someone. Unstoppable, absolutely impossible. The disciples from other holy lands dropped their jaws in shock. They thought burning paper to mourn was the limit, and many were even wary of the Taijuan disciples. But now, with such a high-level scene, who could possibly prevent it? You Taijuan disciples, are all these disciples so evil? The first battle was over, but this one, it's unavoidable. The gray-robed old man from the Emperor's Mountain Holy Land turned pale, glaring at Yi Xiao and the three-eyed true monarch, speechless for a long time. He trembled with fear. It's not a violation of the rules. He's a man. How can he be yellow? This is just an illusion. It only shows that your disciples have very poor psychological resilience. We cultivators, in the eyes of women, are all just rotten skeletons. This disciple still can't see through it. Yi Xiao shook his head, speaking indifferently, completely unconcerned. He, airing Wei Yan's words, the crowd was even more speechless. Second time, could it be that you, the Taijuan Holy Land, are resorting to these opportunistic tricks? Guang Lingjun's face darkened as charcoal. He truly dislikes such tactics. Didn't you say there wouldn't be a second time? Yi Xiao pouted, making Guang Lingjun's face even darker. The gray-robed old man gritted his teeth and said, once or twice the opportunistic behavior is one thing, but the Taijuan Holy Land can't possibly succeed every time, can it? I don't believe it. As if it were a matter of true strength, the Emperor's Mountain Holy Land admitted defeat. But obviously, that wasn't the case. The disciples lost unfairly. Nine Nether True Immortal also frowned. At most, it will only bring in a few points, and besides, Qingfeng Holy Lord's expression was serious as he pointed at the disciples of Emperor's Mountain and Guisu Holy Land, saying to Yi Xiao, Xiao Junior Brother, this is not a good thing at all. Playing tricks on these disciples twice, if they ever encounter your Taijuan Holy Land again, they won't be polite anymore. In their anger, they might resort to heavy-handed tactics. The crowd looked over. Indeed, the Emperor's Mountain Holy Land's holy son's face turned pale, and the disciples behind him were even more furious, glaring intensely at the Taijuan Holy Land people. With that look on his face, he wished he could immediately climb onto the arena and fiercely beat those people up. Damn it, a bunch of incompetent fools who only know how to play dirty tricks. If I met them, I'd definitely beat them until they cried for their fathers. The people of the Guisu Holy Land were the same. Their gazes towards the Taijuan Holy Land were hostile, and they began sharpening their swords. 2 rounds of opportunistic maneuvering. No one believed that in terms of true strength, the Taijuan disciples were their match. Harsh, if they really provoke my Taijuan disciples, It's still unknown who will strike hard. Yi Xiaoyao smiled, offering no comment. His short-lived increase in strength, the Zisheng combat techniques he taught, many of which were self-destructive. In terms of pure tactics and temperament, none of the other 8 great holy lands could compare to Taijuan. Driven by impatience, he would directly sacrifice himself to the heavens. Who could stop him? Then let's wait and see. Both the Holy Lord Thanfang and the true immortal Ji Yu were astonished. They truly didn't know where Yi Xiaoyao's power came from. For a moment, everyone became increasingly curious about the next performance of the Taijuan disciples. Meanwhile, Guanglingzhen, now calm, stared intently at the Taijuan disciples, harboring suspicion. Even he couldn't discern the foundation of that technique. Not only was it a transformation technique, but also that mournful cry powerful and very strange. Yi Xiaoya's father was his old rival, and he knew the Holy Land very well. Divine power techniques are considered top tier in some major clans and sects, but within the 9 great sacred lands, they are only considered average. Time slowly passed. The ranking competition continued fiercely. And like before, the 8 sacred lands, even the saint sons like Su Fengliu, had an added edge. They were determined that when they encountered someone from the Taijuan sacred land, they would first knock them down regardless of the consequences. They absolutely could not give the opponent any chance to cry or seduce them. As each battle began and ended, the arena finally returned to normal. Each fought to the death, heads flying like dogs. The victors laughed wildly, the losers wept. This was not an isolated incident. Among them, the most dazzling were undoubtedly the Saint Sons. Those who could become Saint Sons of the great sacred lands all possessed terrifying combat power surpassing their contemporaries. They truly could kill gods and Buddhas alike. Even the battlefield of Kunlun Saint Sun Sucheng unleashed a miniature universe. His physique was somewhat unique, known as Kunlun Divine Bone, where power and cultivation coexisted, possessing the ability to refine countless mountains, making him extremely terrifying. It is rumored that the first-generation Kunlun Great Emperor forcibly refined hundreds of millions of miles of mountains and rivers for his own use, a truly boundless display of power. Yu Taijuan Holy Land, how many ordinary people have finally emerged? 9 nether true immortals snorted coldly. On 2 arenas, Taijuan Saint Sons also made their moves, using their strength to overcome overwhelming odds. Several peak true core cultivators were no match for them. On another arena, it was Sumaoan, naturally inclined towards the great Tao of music, possessing unparalleled mastery of divine abilities in this area. However, she did not unleash Morning Cry, seemingly shy and unwilling to use it. Both divine power practitioners were relatively ordinary, and their reputations were not very strong. Defeating them wouldn't be surprising. This caused many disciples from the 9 great sacred lands to relax. In their opinion, the Taijuan sacred land had run out of options and couldn't pull off any tricks. They were completely at ease. Haha, I wondered how they could repeatedly engage in opportunistic exploitation. There's no need to worrying about them cheating. Hey, don't let me catch their disciples, or I'll beat them to a pulp. To avenge senior brother Li Yizheng, the disciples of Guisu and Diqia's sacred lands laughed sinisterly, their fists clenched in a sinister manner. The others at the same level should have average combat power, similar to last time. The crowd discussed, and soon they saw Jipo Jun, also known as Little Diamond, ascend the stage. Why hasn't the Taijuan Holy Land sent up a weaker opponent yet? Looking at this kid's head, his combat power is definitely close to that of a Holy Sun. I wonder who his opponent is. He's going to be unlucky. Many people watched Little Diamond Jipo Jun climb onto the stage and couldn't help but grumble. Although they disliked the Taijuan Holy Land, they had to admit that it still had some formidable individuals. However, they quickly froze, then burst into laughter. Tears almost streamed down their faces. Ha ha ha, the Taijuan Holy Land is getting its comeuppance. They deserve it. They deserve it. This is really unlucky for Jipa Jun. He's facing the Sun and Moon Palace's Saint Sun in the first match. It's hilarious. Seeing the Sun and Moon Palace's Saint Sun ascend the arena, the happiest people were undoubtedly Guisu and Diqiu, the 2 great holy lands grinning from ear to ear, practically celebrating on the spot. Taijuan Holy Land was finally going to lose. It was a way for them to vent their anger. To become a saint son of an immortal Dao lineage, his combat power is absolutely terrifying. It's almost impossible to defeat any Saint Sun below him. The investors of the Golden Angel faction also shook their heads. Other powerful figures chimed in. That's right, in previous competitions, very few Saint Suns were defeated, even the lowest ranked ones. The Saint Suns of the 9 great holy lands were almost all meticulously cultivated, and their own physiques were exceptional. It was basically impossible to defeat someone of the same level. Jipa Jun was strong, but he was still far inferior to Saint Suns of the same level. The Sun and Moon Divine Body. It hasn't appeared in 100,000 years, has it? I heard that the Sun and Moon Great Emperor once held the bright moon in his left hand and the sun in his right. The Sun and Moon in harmony, reversing the course of eternity, directly sweeping across an entire era. That kid from the Taijuan Holy Land, I've actually heard people mention him before. He has a diamond body, a Dao body level, following the path of breaking all laws with sheer force. It's a pity he encountered such a monstrous talent in his first battle. Neither true immortal couldn't help but sigh. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100k VND. Get your gifts now. The Sun and Moon Saint Sun is a half-step spirit realm cultivator, and that little diamond seems to have also broken through to the half-step spirit realm. However, the difference in their foundations and physics is immense. Even with the same divine abilities, they can't compensate for it. Jipa Chan's defeat is already sealed. Guang Lingjun said slowly, his words hitting the nail on the head. The difference between a divine body and a Dao body is inherently great, even without unleashing any extraordinary abilities. Haha, the Taijuan Holy Land has won several battles, so it's only natural that it should lose one, right? The Sun and Moon Saint Sun laughed, his gray and white robe exuding a carefree and elegant aura. Seeing this, the disciples of the Taijuan Saint Sun and Su Miaoyin below the arena became increasingly nervous. Although they had cultivated many small-scale cultivation techniques and divine abilities, their opponent was clearly very powerful. They might be caught off guard and knocked off the stage the very first encounter. And on the stage, Little Diamond's face also turned pale. Before even beginning his rampage, he'd already encountered an impenetrable wall in his first battle. His face alternated between pale and flushed, finally gritting his teeth, his eyes filled with determination. Damn it, I absolutely cannot lose this first battle. I can't lose even if I die. Little Diamond's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. In the Taijuan Holy Land, anyone who had cultivated the divine techniques created by the founding ancestors was never one to be reckless. Jipa Jun, it's just the first battle. Don't be so serious. Yuziya seemed to sense something, raising his eyebrows. This guy wouldn't. I should have known better than to teach this guy. It's precisely because it's the first battle that I can't lose. I absolutely cannot let you lose face. I cannot let the Taijuan Holy Land lose face. Isn't he just a Saint Sun? Why can't I win? Little Diamond's voice grew louder and louder, until finally, his voice shook the heavens. Crack! With a crisp clang, he swung his sword and severed his entire right thigh, throwing it onto the arena floor. Before the blood could even flow from the severed end, Little Diamond immediately produced a thick, elephant-like leg and attached it. The dragon elephant thigh was placed on top. My fate is in my own hands, not in the hands of heaven. In the ancient era, there was a great demon named the Dragon Elephant. Its body possessed immense strength. Its hoofs could trample the heavens and shatter the earth. Even the imperial clans of the ancient era wouldn't dare to die alongside it. Humans would need 3 or 4 strong forces to surround and kill it. Even its defenses were impenetrable. Even a spirit realm dragon elephant possessed 30 million pounds of strength, enough to crush mountains. Little Jin Gang's elephant leg was a spirit realm. Although it was only a leg, its strength was far from reaching that, but it was still incredibly terrifying. One leg isn't enough. Again, Little Jin Gang roared and brutally severed his left leg, attaching another elephant leg. Instantly, a savage and terrifying aura shook the entire arena. Little Jin Gang's entire body also grew to 10 meters tall. His 2 legs alone were 8 meters long, as huge as a water vat. At first glance, it resembled a monstrous figure with 2 enormous, green water jars radiating an oppressive aura and overwhelming visual impact. Seeing this, the Taijuan Saint Sun quickly retrieved the original 2 legs of the Little Diamond, preserving them. What kind of monster is this? The sun and moon Saint Sun looked up at the towering little diamond before him, his whole body numb, speechless. He felt like he'd lost his strength just hitting its knees. Holy cow, that young man, holy cow. Impossible, that's impossible, too crazy. How could the dragon elephant legs be joined together? What's wrong with this world? Am I crazy? Or is the world crazy? How can there be such an absurd divine ability in this world? These dragon elephant legs must be fake. Or am I just an illusion? The disciples of the 9 great sacred lands were also stunned, their heads spinning. They questioned their own eyes, completely disbelieving. But then, little diamond moved the 2 elephant legs. The arena seemed to be subjected to immense pressure, emitting groans of unbearable strain. 2 days ago, someone bought it at a high price, originally thinking it would be used as a mount. I didn't expect to destroy its thigh and attach it to myself. Among the crowd, a beast seller said in a panic. Everyone believed this, their mouths agape. What kind of monstrous divine ability is this? I originally thought that mourning and seduction techniques were the ultimate limits for Taijuan disciples, but it's ridiculous, truly ridiculous. I actually underestimated the level of perversion in the Taijuan Holy Land. I'm even more curious to know which ancient great emperor created this divine ability. It's too terrifying. How could they create such a divine ability? On the viewing platform, some elders from major forces and powerful families suddenly stood up, shaken beyond comprehension. Leaving aside the combat power of this divine ability, its bizarre and sinister nature alone shattered imagination and overturned worldviews. I've heard Taijuan disciples mention it, but I didn't expect it to be so exaggerated. If there were a ranking of Earth-level cultivation techniques, this one would be number 1, Su Cheng's. Eyes widened, a flash of inspiration struck him, and he immediately became uncontrollably excited. That's right, the ranking. I want to invite Dao Ming to establish a ranking system for cultivation techniques, Earth rank, Heaven rank. Yes, if successful, my reputation will definitely surpass that of the previous generation's Saint Sun, Su Cheng. Tremblingly pulled out his small notebook. In the highest hall, the supreme elders of the 9 great sacred lands were all stunned as if struck by lightning. This divine ability is unprecedented, opening up a completely new direction for cultivation techniques. Who created this? The lips of the true void immortal of the sun and moon palace trembled slightly. He looked at the 10-meter tall little diamond, then at the 1-meter 7 tall sun and moon Saint Sun. It completely shattered his confidence. But what kind of divine ability is this? Guang Lingjun was also greatly shocked, looking at the 3-eyed true monarch. I've never seen such a crazy divine ability appear in your Taijuan sacred land before. Where did you dig it up from? Even mythological legends can't surpass this. This creator of divine abilities, Senior, is truly a peerless genius. The path of the Taijuan Holy Land is indeed getting wilder and wilder. Qingfeng Holy Lord and Juyu True Immortal couldn't help but exclaim in awe. They were extremely curious about the creator. If the circumstances weren't so unsuitable, they would even capture the little diamond to study it. Evidently, they all believed the creator was a senior, at least a saint king. Without immense experience and time, and a heart devoid of the devilish instincts of a demon, it would be impossible to create something like this. Let's continue watching to see who created it. I'm not in a position to say more. 3-eyed true monarch, having experienced so many competitions, finally beamed with pride. She glanced absent-mindedly at Yi Xiaoyao, feeling admiration in her heart. Leaving aside its power, he couldn't even figure out the exact nature of this technique. As for its creator, he had no intention of revealing it, at least not now. These people, with their eyes reddened, were using a pile of treasures to entice Yi Xiaoyao to create a cultivation method. Would he even bother to cultivate it? The extravagance was practically blinding, and he didn't dare say whether Yi Xiaoyao would be driven mad. So mysterious. Who exactly is this ancient sage? The others were astonished, becoming even more curious. Then Guang Lingjun frowned and said, "This divine ability is indeed bizarre. It somewhat enhances combat power. But if it's just the 2 leg-shaped artifacts, I'm afraid it's still no match for the sun and moon Saint Sun." He saw those leg-shaped artifacts. They were roughly equivalent to defensive divine weapons, weighing at least several 100,000 pounds. They were indeed capable of defense. But ultimately, it wasn't his own leg. Trying to control it like an arm and unleash its power was basically impossible. Normally speaking, it's like a child holding a heavy sword. Just lifting it is difficult enough, but unleashing its power is incredibly challenging. It feels a bit like a small horse pulling a cart. Qingfeng Saint Lord, Jiyu True Immortal, and others all agreed. Beside them, the Sun and Moon Palace's Zhenkong Supreme Immortal remained unfazed, breathing a sigh of relief. Normally, Yi Xiaoyao smiled faintly, his knuckles casually tapping the railing. The divine abilities he created were not simple. Seeing this, everyone was astonished. Before they could ask further, they heard a deafening roar. Finally, the fighting began on the arena. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100k VND. Get your gifts now. After recovering from his initial shock, the Sun and Moon Saint Sun calmed down. He shared the same thoughts as the Azure Wine Saint Lord and others. The horse-drawn carriage couldn't unleash much of its power. To fight me, why would you trade to legs? How could that possibly change the situation? The Sun and Moon Saint Sun chuckled nonchalantly, his left hand wielding the silver moon crescent blade, his right hand holding the Sun God sword. Two completely different Tao true meanings erupted. The sword and blade true meanings on the arena stirred up a storm, affecting those below. Some disciples' faces showed streaks of blood as they retreated in fear. The Sun and Moon Saint Sun is truly as legendary as he is, having comprehended the true meaning of swords and blades. Comprehending one true meaning is already a genius among his generation. Comprehending two and integrating them seamlessly, there have been few examples of this throughout history. The Sun and Moon Saint Sun has won for consecutive battles. Is this the first time he's truly done this? With his full power, even if Little Diamond loses, there will be no regrets. Many people exclaimed in amazement and admiration. Even the Qingfeng Saint Lord sighed, saying that the Sun and Moon Palace had welcomed a truly exceptional genius. Normally, a person can only master one type of true meaning, such as sword intent, saber intent, spear intent, etc. Mastering a true meaning makes one almost unrivaled below the Tao integration realm. A heaven-defying genius might be able to comprehend two types, but to master the two types of true meanings intertwining and conflicting within the body, there's a 99% chance of instant death. The Sun and Moon Saint Sun's strength lies in the fact that he integrated two completely different sword and saber true meanings into his Sun and Moon divine body, using the day as a sword and the moon as a saber, perfectly merging them. The only drawback is that it's impossible to simultaneously wield two divine abilities, saber techniques and sword techniques. It's impossible to fully unleash the true essence of saber and sword, otherwise it would be truly defying the heavens. Guanglingjian couldn't help but praise him. At this moment, the three-eyed true monarch couldn't help but glance at Yi Xiaoyao, remembering this prodigy's creation of the mind-splitting great method. If the Sun and Moon Saint Sun knew, he would probably be instantly enraged. Boom! A sword intent slashed across a 100-foot-long silk ribbon. The Sun and Moon Saint Sun swiftly advanced, slashing again. The saber light was like an engraving, and the sword energy, in the shape of the character 10, angrily slashed towards the little diamond. The light was overwhelming, and Yuchenko left 2 long gashes, enough to tear apart an early-stage spirit realm expert. You can question my strength, but you cannot doubt the strength of these 2 legs of mine. Little Diamond laughed heartily, truly showing no sign of exerting himself. The cauldron, like a massive, sturdy foot, gleamed with a powerful light, controlled as if by an extension of his arm. Boom! With one stomp, he obliterated the terrifying sword intent, creating a large crater in the solid arena. Why do I feel like these 2 dragon elephant legs just grew out of this guy's body? They're so silky. The Sun and Moon Saint Sun's face changed drastically. He felt a shadow fall over his head, completely obscuring his vision. Without time to think, his swords clashed. His Sun and Moon true essence surged, his aura rising as he rose to block. Bang! A terrifying force directly slammed the Sun and Moon Saint Sun into the ground. Little Diamond was like stepping on a cockroach, his large foot moving back and forth, grinding with all his might. Let you be arrogant, I'll damn well let you be arrogant. Little Diamond grinned, his large, vicious foot stomping. Sun and Moon are both wrong, Furious were erupted from the bottom of the arena, a chaotic force of intertwined sun and moonlight forcefully pushing up a foot. A flash of light, and the sun and moon Saint Sun, struggling to escape, stood more than 10 meters away. A large footprint suddenly appeared on his face. How can he unleash this dragon elephant power? The sun and moon Saint Sun couldn't believe it. That power was too strong, as if he were facing a real dragon elephant. The power had increased several times over. How could this be? It was just a change of limb, not a change of person. At this moment, the sun and moon Saint Sun felt an itch on his face, and upon sensing it, his face immediately turned pale. You damn foot-swelling disease, damn it! The itching on his face was too intense, and he quickly channeled his cultivation to expel the foot-swelling disease. Hey, this is the dragon elephant I've carefully selected. Isn't its true flavor quite ordinary? Little Diamond laughed strangely, then rushed forward with a thunderous roar. With each step, a deep pit appeared in the arena, as if an earthquake had struck. I don't believe it. You swapped legs and you think you can be my opponent. The sun and moon Saint Sun, unable to maintain his composure, gritted his teeth in resentment, his cultivation surging. Swords clashed, and he charged forward. Sword technique, divine. A sword light transformed into the form of a deity, ferociously roaring as it collided with Little Diamond's massive foot. At the same time, a blade strike flashed horizontally, directly hitting another dragon elephant's leg. Clang! Sparks flew, and the powerful impact caused the sun and moon Saint Sun's hand to go numb. He was terrified. His attack power was enough to crush an early-stage spirit realm expert, and even a mid-stage expert would find it difficult to stop him. But now, you are still a peak spirit realm dragon elephant true immortal. The sun and moon Saint Sun shuddered. He was very strong, capable of fighting above his level, equivalent to a mid-stage spirit realm cultivator. But this dragon elephant's foot before him was at the peak of the spirit realm. Although Little Diamond couldn't unleash his full power, it was enough to cope with him. It made no sense. This simply didn't make sense. How could this guy possess the power of a peak spirit realm dragon elephant? Ha ha ha, you just realized. Little Diamond laughed wildly, his thick feet stomping, kicking, and stomping, instantly engaging in battle with the sun and moon Saint Sun. Terrifying light flashed, and the force shook the arena. Each strike from the two was enough to obliterate an early-stage spirit realm cultivator, leaving the entire arena completely silent. What kind of divine ability is this? It can double Little Diamond's combat power. Fighting the sun and moon Saint Sun to this point, everyone was shocked. They had never seen such a powerful divine ability before. Is this a peak heavenly rank technique? Impossible. This kind of divine ability consumes a lot of energy. Once unleashed, it will instantly drain Little Diamond dry. Even a beginner heavenly rank expert would struggle with it. Breaking off two of the dragon elephant's legs and possessing 3/3 of its original strength, such a divine ability is unprecedented, truly unimaginable. Guanglingzhen stared for a long time, finally showing emotion. 3 or 4/3 of a peak spirit realm expert, no matter what, possesses late-stage power. But this is still an ancient dragon elephant. On the side, the true void venerable of the sun and moon palace had a dark expression on his face. Clearly capable of crushing his opponent, he transformed himself and directly became a Saint Sun. This kind of divine ability will definitely not last long, and the price is not small. If we drag this out, the Taijuan Holy Land will still lose. True void venerable gritted his teeth, his lungs aching with anger. The sun and moon Saint Sun had lost face this time, fighting for so long against such a minor character. Saying goodbye is too soon. Yi Shaya chuckled. Zinkong Shenren glared at him, resentfully saying, could he really defeat my sun and moon Saint Sun? Do you really think he's made of clay to be molded? The sun and moon Saint Sun is revered to this extent. Even the most powerful Little Diamond divine ability wouldn't be able to subdue him. Let's just wait and see. Yishaya shook his head, a flash of spiritual light appearing in his eyes as he carefully observed the 9 battles on the arenas. Meanwhile, his mind was constantly analyzing and comprehending. Since arriving here at Taijuan, he had spent several days, and besides reading, he is still stubbornly continuing to demonstrate his expertise in supernatural powers. Watching the battle was a test of his inner thoughts. Quick, before long, I'll figure it out. Yi Shayao whispered. On the arena, the sun and moon Saint Sun was finally forced to show impatience. With his abilities, he could break through the defenses of these two thick legs. But inflicting serious injury would be difficult, and besides, this pervert in front of him didn't seem to notice the sword wounds on his thighs. I can't stand it. The Sun and Moon Saint Sun was kicked in the face, almost suffering a concussion. If it weren't for his cultivation of body techniques, his head would have already exploded. A strange smell assailed his nostrils, his face turned ashen, and he began to itch. His swollen feet were too severe. Clang! The Sun and Moon Saint Sun threw his sword with force, a clang echoing as the blades clashed, causing Little Diamond to flinch. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the Sun and Moon Saint Sun gripped the sword with both hands, pouring all his strength and true essence into it. Sun and Moon Sword, God slaying. The Sun and Moon Saint Sun roared, the silver moon curved sword in his palm shining brightly, 1,000-foot-long sword light slashing out. The Sun and Moon intertwined, dancing on the sword light, as if half sun, half silver moon, carrying terrifying destructive power. This is a heaven-grade beginner-level Sun and Moon sword. It seems quite intense. With such power, I fear he has reached the peak of his cultivation. Even Jin might not be able to withstand it. The disciples exclaimed in shock, and even those in the stands were filled with awe and admiration. Divine abilities aren't simply about higher levels. Only those that best suit oneself can unleash their full power. Higher levels of divine abilities are difficult to comprehend and even more challenging to execute. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100k VND. Get your gifts now. You Taijuan must lose, the Void Immortal snorted coldly, feeling a sense of triumph. Mystic heavy kick, boom, Lee. Tilvira also roared, his massive, heavy kick like Mount Tai directly impacting. With a crack, facing the 1,000-foot-long Sun and Moon blade light, even the elephant's foot, with its extremely strong defensive power, couldn't withstand it, tearing open a large, cup-sized hole, severing the bones inside. This scene made many people sigh. No matter how heaven-defying Little Vidra's divine power was, it couldn't change the outcome. A Saint Sun is still a Saint Sun, too difficult to deal with. The Sun and Moon Saint Sun also breathed a sigh of relief. But at this moment, a fist imprint, hidden within the intense fluctuations, suddenly erupted, striking the Sun and Moon Saint Sun's chest. His chest caved in slightly, causing him to vomit a large amount of blood. Completely unprepared, the Sun and Moon Saint Sun was directly knocked flying, rolling off the stage. Sun and Moon Holy Sun. Defeated. This scene unfolded too quickly. Complete silence fell over all directions, everyone stunned. No, it's impossible. Where did that punch come from? I just saw it. Jin was simultaneously performing a kicking technique and another fist technique. But how is that possible? How could he simultaneously perform two divine abilities? Countless people clamored, all with expressions as if they had seen a ghost. Only Leahy of Cullen Holy Land, still dazed, reacted. This scene was so damn familiar. Back in Taijuan Holy Land, he had been defeated in the same way. The divine ability created by Yizia, the mind-splitting great technique. The first one defeated the Holy Sun. My heavens! This Jin is too heaven-defying. The heaven-defying part is this divine ability. He borrowed the power of these two thighs. Inside the arena, a thunderous uproar of discussion erupted in an instant. Countless people stared in disbelief. Number 22, Jin wins. The old man in the Taoist robe announced the result with trembling lips. Without a doubt, after this battle, Jun's name would resound, and along with him, he would become famous for this divine ability that could change bodies, simultaneously using two divine abilities. This is also a secret technique, an unprecedented secret technique. Wang Lingchun's eyes narrowed, his eyelids twitching involuntarily. How many new divine abilities is this? The Taijuan Holy Land truly has real skill. The faces of the people on the Sun and Moon Palace's true void turned green, their brains turning pale with anger. They were humiliated. What a disgrace. No matter what divine abilities the opponent displayed, a dignified Saint Sun losing to a mere Jin, how would the Sun and Moon Palace handle this if word got out? However, on the other hand, the true Void Venerable's heart pounded at the sight of that secret technique that simultaneously displayed two divine abilities. No divine ability could be more suitable for the Sun and Moon Saint Sun than this secret technique. Even a sacred technique couldn't compare. The Taijuan Holy Land is truly beyond expectations. The nine nether true immortal and others had complex expressions, their gazes towards the Taijuan Holy Land completely devoid of their previous contempt. This time, it wasn't about opportunism. It was genuine strength. When did the Taijuan disciples become so powerful? Consecutive new divine abilities, too strong, I really don't know where they came from. The crowd murmured, filled with envy and jealousy. In the past, conversely, there were sacred places from ancient ruins where divine techniques were discovered, but absolutely none were as perverse as this. Below the arena, the Sun and Moon Saint Sun, his face as black as charcoal, crawled up wanting to erupt in anger. But seeing Little Diamond reluctantly destroy the elephant's leg, replace it with his own, and then fall to the ground with a loud crash, completely unconscious, he couldn't bring himself to be angry. Clearly, this bizarre and powerful divine technique had an enormous burden, and Little Diamond was incapable of participating in the next battle. The Taijuan Saint Sun and Jiao Zikang hurriedly went up to carry Little Diamond away. This time, I admit defeat. I don't believe that Taijuan disciples are all more perverted than the last. The Sun and Moon Holy Sun gritted his teeth, resentfully turning back to the Sun and Moon Holy Land, sitting cross-legged to recover his strength. He had only lost one battle. There were still more battles to come. In a sense, the Taijuan Holy Land had won, but they had also suffered a great loss, and Little Diamond was powerless to fight another battle. A typical case of killing 1,000 enemies while suffering 800 casualties. Ding, your observation of the battle, the feeling of killing 1,000 enemies while suffering 800 casualties, has inspired you to create the divine ability Hanging Demonic Technique. Hanging Demonic Technique, Curse Type, Heavenly Rank Beginner. After selecting a target, place a rope around their neck and hang them. The opponent will hang themselves, unable to escape. The weaker the cultivation, the easier it is to hang them. The reverse is also true. Just hanging them upside down for 12 hours is enough too. Enter the entry level, hanging them upside down for 10 days and 10 nights is enough for minor mastery. 100 days is enough for major mastery. Yi Shiyao narrowed his eyes. Curses in this world belong to secret techniques, even rarer than sacred medicines. The inheritances are pitifully scarce. Even the Taijuan Holy Land couldn't find many of them. I absolutely never imagined it would be a curse. Even more unexpectedly, this curse is related to urine. Ghost Hanging Demonic Technique. I always feel like I'm leading the entire world galloping towards some unknown direction. Yi Xiao stared. His understanding of the system's creation of cultivation techniques deepened. Creating a divine technique depends on time and one's level of comprehension. For example, he had a very deep understanding of Little Diamond and the Sun and Moon Holy Sun. Taijuan won, but suffered a bit of a disadvantage, as Little Diamond couldn't participate in the competition anymore and would remain in a vegetative state for several days. The Sun and Moon Holy Sun lost, suffering even more, not only contracting Little Diamond's edema, but also paving the way for the latter's fame. The battle arena inside caused quite a stir because the Sun and Moon Saint Sun was defeated. I really didn't expect that the Taijuan Holy Land, without relying on speculation, could reach such a state. That Jipo Jun is too unreasonable. Is this what you call unreasonable? This guy changed his leg, and he can even change it back. That's truly unreasonable. I thought he'd become disabled again. It should be an exception. I don't believe every member of the Taijuan Holy Land is so bizarre. Yes, one or two bizarre is one thing, but all of them are bizarre. I'd eat shit upside down. The Taijuan Holy Land has always won. They should lose a battle, right? In the stands surrounding the arena, the disciples of the 9 great sacred lands were discussing noisily, their anticipation for the upcoming matches growing even stronger. The most impatient were the disciples of the Guisu Sacred Land and the Dikyu Sacred Land, now joined by the Sun and Moon Palace. Their attention was no longer focused on their respective arenas, but entirely on the Taijuan Sacred Land. They were all eagerly awaiting to see who would deliver a fierce blow to this Taijuan disciple. They were truly fed up. The competition continued. As each Taijuan disciple ascended the stage, everyone became increasingly restless. They soon saw an ordinary Taijuan disciple take the stage. He was quite unremarkable, his cultivation fluctuation not strong. He was only at the late stage of the True Core realm, or the 8th level of the True Core realm. His opponent was a disciple from the Heavenly Master Sacred Land dressed in a purple robe, considerably stronger than the Taijuan disciple at the peak of the 9th level of the True Core realm. I don't believe it either. The Taijuan Holy Land hasn't lost a single time. If that's true, I'll die with my eyes wide open. Su Fenglia was also on the arena, kicking his opponent away, his eyes fixed intently on this side. He truly didn't believe it. You won't cry at a funeral, will you? The purple-robed youth cautiously inquired. He was also a prodigy in the Heavenly Master Holy Land, with extraordinary combat power, always arrogant and conceited. But at this moment, he didn't even dare to speak loudly. He absolutely dared not underestimate this seemingly ordinary, weak Taijuan disciple. No, you won't use the seduction technique, will you? No, you certainly won't cripple your own leg and replace it with an elephant's leg, will you? No. Good, extremely good, too good. The purple-robed youth was overjoyed, almost in tears. Damn, finally, he'd met a normal Taijuan disciple. Heaven has eyes. My luck is skyrocketing. But a second later, the ordinary disciple's face suddenly became respectful and solemn. Then, gradually ferocious, gradually perverse. Bloodstained demon-slaying technique. With spirit demon-slaying technique. The ordinary disciple roared, drawing his sword and severing the carotid artery in his neck, blood gushing out. Then, as if he had taken an aphrodisiac, his ordinary aura instantly soared, becoming violent. He truly surged from the 8th level all the way to the 9th level. In the wide-eyed gaze of the purple-robed youth, the author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. 5 daggers to boost spirit. The ordinary disciple didn't finish his movements, but instead thrust 5 daggers into his body, instantly boosting his spirit to a fever pitch, as if injected with adrenaline. This technique, the #1 among 100 techniques, had no other effect than boosting spirit. It had the same effect as stimulants. 10% of his strength could be unleashed to 12%. 6 swords to strengthen the body. The ordinary disciple then stabbed 6 more short swords into his body, his aura soaring once again. This was to strengthen his physical body. Blood replenishing pill, blood generating pill. White Horse Temple pain relief patch. The ordinary disciple applied several pain-relieving patches to his body. He then pulled out a bottle of blood-replenishing pills, gulping them down to prevent excessive blood loss and burping. Currently, the Taijuan Holy Land lacks everything except for healing potions. I report him. He cheated. He harmed himself. He took drugs. The purple-robed youth's face widened in shock as he shouted loudly at the referee. Exaggerated. Too exaggerated. His fighting power is like a raging storm. What's the point of fighting like this? There's no rule against self-harm. He didn't take any power-boosting drugs, just blood-replenishing and pain-relieving medicine. It doesn't count as cheating. The Taoist, robed referee was also stunned. How come the Taijuan disciples are all so strange? He's already harming himself as soon as he gets on stage. It feels even more abnormal than that prosthetic switching guy. Come on, little darling. Under the influence of the 5 swords of spirit enhancement blood-infused technique, the ordinary disciple's eyes immediately blazed with red light, filled with excitement, and he charged forward with his sword. Puff, the purple-robed youth immediately knelt. Please give me a small gift and leave a comment also. Someone made a suggestion that I think is very reasonable. Dear readers, if you have any ideas for novel martial arts techniques, please comment on the book or chapter in the comments section if there's anything suitable. I'll accept it _brother. This is just a competition. It's not that serious. I really am not that serious. I surrender. The purple-robed youth's face was pleading, stammering. He was scared. If it were facing other sacred lands, even a half-step spirit realm expert, he would dare to challenge. But this person's mental state was clearly not right. He definitely couldn't win. Besides, what if he went straight up and stripped off his pants? A tyrannical forceful attack. Given the level of those previous perverts, it wasn't impossible. Don't fight me quickly. I can't take it anymore. Can we just rub against each other? Just rub against each other. The ordinary disciples were extremely excited, their hands holding their swords trembling slightly. This was like being overwhelmed by an aphrodisiac, suppressing their desires uncontrollably. You shouldn't do that. The purple robe youth's buttocks tightened in fear, and he quickly tumbled off the stage. Running to the Heavenly Master's sacred land within the camp, they finally felt relieved. Is there no justice besides the Taijuan Saint Sun? Are there no normal people in this sacred land? The great sacred land saw that ordinary disciples slitting throats and stabbing people, staining the arena red, their hair standing on end. Su Fengliu and Li Ling's faces turned dark, gnashing their teeth. How many new divine abilities is this from the Taijuan sacred land? Guang Lingjun was shocked. 1 or 2 new divine abilities were understandable, but so many was just outrageous. And they were also incredibly wicked and perverted. Beside him, the 9 nether true immortal watched the ordinary disciple reluctantly jump off the arena, then looked at the bloodstains on the ground beneath his feet. He couldn't help but shudder. I just counted. This kid displayed 4 divine abilities one after another, and also an extremely powerful sword technique. Increasing true essence, increasing physical body, increasing spirit. The gray-robed old man from the Emperor's Mountain Holy Land was like a stunned mole, inexplicably shocked. Most of them are Earth level. The consumption of true essence is absolutely enormous. How did he endure it? Is this really an ordinary disciple? Moreover, where did so many evil and monstrous divine abilities come from? After saying this, the elders of the great holy lands all looked towards the three-eyed true monarch, their eyes shining brightly. The Taijuan Holy Land's Lian had shattered their common sense. There was simply no logic to it. He mainly cultivates the Sunflower Manual and 3 or 4 auxiliary techniques that enhance true essence. His true essence is hundreds of millions more powerful than others of the same level, which is quite normal. Yi Xiao said nonchalantly. As the creator, he knew best. What kind of nonsense is that? 3 or 4 techniques? At these divine abilities, and he's almost surpassed 10. How old is he? How can he cultivate so many? And each one is at such a high level. The true void immortal of the Sun and Moon Holy Land almost raised his foot, pointing at Yi Xiao and questioning, is this what you call normal? The others also had expressions of disbelief. Even a top-tier saintly son with exceptional talent couldn't possibly cultivate so many techniques and divine abilities to this extent. Yi Xiao shrugged, unconcerned. He continued to observe the battle, using others' fighting techniques and divine ability trajectories to deduce his own divine abilities. Just like the ancients who wrote poetry, one must first learn to recognize characters, study the poems of ancient sages, memorize classics, and then, on this foundation, integrate one's own thoughts and thought processes. Whether it's self-creation or reliance on a system, this prerequisite is essential. Meanwhile, in the arena, the battle continues. Bloodstained Demon Slaying Technique. With Spirit Demon Slaying Technique. Sun Sword Demon Slash. Bang! Taijuan Holy Land, number 49 wins. On the arena, a Taijuan disciple went up and immediately started fighting, beating a Penglai Holy Land disciple until he cried out in pain. Many people watched in shock. Then, one after another, Taijuan disciples went up and immediately started fighting, spitting blood, the arena almost completely soaked in blood. Then they applied bandages to their wounds, took healing pills to recover quickly, and then in the second round, their wounds tore open and continued. There must be a weakness. Yes, close combat. These Taijuan disciples are definitely not good at close combat. Fight them, fight! Emperor Qiu Guisu and the Sun and Moon Palace racked their brains trying to figure out how to counter. Finally, as if they had discovered a glimmer of hope, they roared excitedly. Except for Little Diamond, they seem to have yet to see the powerful physical bodies of the Taijuan disciples. As long as we rely on our movement techniques, quickly approach, and engage in close quarters combat, the Taijuan disciples won't have the opportunity to unleash so many evil divine abilities. This is their only weakness. Hearing this, the disciples of the great sacred lands immediately rejoiced. But very quickly, their beautiful dream was shattered. Dragon Elephant Body Tempering Technique. 8 Desolate Demon Slaying Palm. A thin, frail-looking young man who had just stepped onto the stage roared angrily. Like a balloon being inflated, his muscles swelled, instantly transforming him into a muscular, imposing figure, radiating a terrifying sense of oppression. Boom! The Disciples of the Misty Immortal Palace, who had just unleashed their ultimate speed and were preparing to engage in close combat, were instantly knocked to the ground by a single palm strike. In an instant, they foamed at the mouth, trembled all over, and sprouted black hair. Damn, I can't even win in close combat. What kind of demonic technique is this? Whoever I attack turns into a giant ape? Countless disciples widen their eyes in utter despair. 9. Nether Mad Demon Blade. Oh, you're going to die a horrible death. Show-off is like the wind, always accompanying me. Finally, it's my turn, the Taijuan King of Show-offs. Taijuan is the king. No, number 100 wins. Amidst countless astonished gazes, the disciples of Taijuan Holy Land unleashed their divine power, completely rising up, each one like a rooster with blood boiling, wildly laughing and crushing their opponents. As long as they weren't far superior to themselves, no one could withstand them. In an instant, Taijuan Holy Land's total points surged like a storm. However, there were also unlucky ones, encountering saint sons of other holy lands, and several dark horses. As for Yi Xiao, he was like a horse gliding through flowers, not having time to look. There are a few who are skilled in music, quite interesting. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Play mobile movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Yi Xiao narrowed his eyes, observing the beautiful figures of the misty Holy Land. Those few, whose mastery of the great Tao of music surpassed even Su Maoan's Yin Dao body. Su Maoan was a girl, not having cultivated any demonic divine abilities. Although powerful, she wasn't particularly attractive. The only thing that caught his eye was her delicate beauty, possessing a captivating charm even at such a young age. Yi Xiao watched Su Maoan fighting a young man, her hands playing the zither, exuding an ethereal aura. His eyes flickered, a light of deduction rising within him. In the past, a holy land with 1 or 2 dark horses was already formidable, and the Taijuan Holy Land was at the bottom of the list. Now, they're all dark horses. The Qingfeng Holy Lord remained silent for a long time, looking at Yi Xiao and sighing. The Taijuan Holy Land might truly have the potential to compete for first place. Of course, it's just a possibility. The disciples of the Misty Immortal Palace aren't exactly innocent either. Their fighting skills, experience, divine abilities, and physical prowess are all top-notch compared to their contemporaries. Their combat power is incredibly formidable. It's hard to say the Misty Immortal Palace hasn't been stable for many years, and their overall strength is unimaginable, even compared to the somewhat abnormal Taijuan Holy Land. Looking at the current points, the Misty Immortal Palace has reached 520 points, while the Taijuan Holy Land has 490 points, a considerable difference. The most crucial thing is the final match in a few days. The competition will be 100 times more intense than it is now. 9. Nether True Immortal glanced at the referee's crystal ball, which displayed the rankings. First, Misty Immortal Palace. Second, Taijuan Holy Land. Third, Guisu Holy Land. Fourth, Jiashai Holy Land. Kunlun Holy Land ranked last. The 9 Nether True Immortal of the Gixu Sacred Land didn't rely on his disciples to stop the Taijuan's rise. This competition was truly insane. The Taijuan Sacred Land's rise, reaching this level, is due to those suddenly appearing divine abilities. Where did these come from? Looking at these unconventional divine abilities, they all seem to be from the same person. Moreover, they're all Earth level, so many of them. Could it be? A flash of inspiration struck Guanglingzhen's mind, a conjecture forming, but he immediately dismissed it as utterly absurd. He was only a few years old. Even with extraordinary talent, he couldn't possibly have created so many. This couldn't even be described as genius. However, no matter how much he dismissed it, his intuition kept telling Guanglingzhen that it was that guy. He must have obtained these divine techniques from the Blood Abyss Sect's Black Tower. 9 Nether Immortal and True Void Immortal exchanged glances, both understanding each other's thoughts. There was no animosity. The difference between righteous and demonic paths lies in this. The demonic path uses the lives of others to forge its own invincible demonic way, while the righteous path is more constrained by rules. Sacrificing oneself to heaven without harming others is nothing unusual. I know a little about the Blood Abyss sect. In the ancient era, the Blood Ancestor was almost invincible, but I haven't heard of him creating this kind of divine technique. As A member of the demonic path, only someone with a sick mind would create a method of sacrificing oneself to heaven. True void immortal of the sun and moon palace was puzzled, truly unable to understand where these divine techniques of the Taijuan Holy Land came from. A rumor circulated a few days ago. Could it be? Nine Nether True Immortal transmitted his voice, casually glancing at Yi Xiao. As soon as he finished speaking, True Void Supreme Immortal's face contorted, and he transmitted his voice saying, "He's only 8 years old? How is that possible? You were still playing with your pants and playing chess when you were 8, let alone 100 techniques. Could you even create one?" Nine Nether True Immortal's face turned pale upon hearing this, and he quickly glanced around. "If you bring up those fabricated stories from the past, I'll kill you." Fortunately, it was transmitted telepathically. Otherwise, wouldn't his reputation be ruined? Continue watching the battle. I want to see how many new divine techniques the Taijuan Holy Land possesses. A dozen or so techniques is already extraordinary. Guang Lingjun's eyebrows furrowed into an X shape. The competition continued. As the Taijuan disciples passed 5 stages and defeated 6 opponents, one divine technique after another erupted. The elders of the 8 great holy lands finally couldn't sit still, leaning forward with serious expressions. The climax. 20th event, 30th event, 41st event. The entire arena erupted in commotion. Countless people were utterly terrified. Mother, 68 divine abilities have appeared. Each one is dazzling to the eyes. Is the Taijuan Holy Land digging up some mythical era's great tomb of gods and demons? How can there be so many? Li Feng, the gold medal investor, was shocked, and a dozen or so sect elders beside him also stood up, staring intently at the arena. Righteous cultivation techniques and divine abilities are rare, yet the Taijuan Holy Land has suddenly added so many. This is truly a heaven-sent fortune. I really want to join the Taijuan Holy Land. Even if I don't learn dozens of them, learning just one would be enough. Every single one of these divine abilities is incredibly powerful. Your talent isn't good enough. Some disciples from major forces and sects looked at the Taijuan disciples with red eyes, their faces filled with envy and jealousy. Although those divine abilities were very sinister and perverse, they were incredibly powerful. Many young women blushed, already thinking about how they could marry a Taijuan disciple. Then, taking advantage of inattention, they secretly flipped through a certain author's monumental work, 108 Ways to Seduce Men. Smash it hard. Breaking news. If this competition gets leaked, it will definitely be front-page news, shocking both the righteous and demonic factions. I've already thought of the title. Shocking. Taijuan Disciples' Collection of Perverted Battle Techniques. Shocking. The competition revealed dozens of perverted divine techniques. Who is the creator? What exactly did he experience? Did he perhaps experience a ghostly childhood? Dao Ming, ancient spirit immortal, was extremely excited, her curiosity towards the creator reaching its peak. She was also extremely impressed. It was impossible not to admire him. The other reporters were also going crazy, scrambling to get their commemorative photos, frantically filming towards the arena. Meanwhile, Yi Xiao seemed to be immersed in the great Tao, his mind wandering beyond the material world, his eyes flashing with an extraordinary brilliance. His comprehension had reached an unprecedented level. His understanding at this moment was comparable to the work of 100 days. Ding, you observed 1,200 types of divine abilities, witnessed 400 people suffering severe injuries, and your understanding of the core of divine abilities has become even more thorough. With 400 people severely wounded, you felt great pity for them. To alleviate their suffering, you created Burying Alive. Burying Alive, a heaven-level, beginner-level divine ability. Using spiritual soil as a burial ground, you bury living beings alive. The burial ground beneath weakens the enemy's strength. The longer the time, the easier it is to bury them alive. Bury others before burying yourself. Just bury yourself alive, persevere for an hour, and you can enter the realm. The longer you persevere, the stronger the power of living burial. It also has the effect of quickly absorbing the essence of heaven and earth. Ding, your understanding of living burial is profound. To prevent corpses from rising, you have created the concrete refining method. Yi Xiao. Ding, you observed 38 battles of musical scales. The fighting flowed naturally, like a dream. You have a clear understanding of musical scales. You recalled 18 musical instruments, and finally, using the trumpet as the foundation, you created the soul-sending melody 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix. 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix have a level beginner divine ability. With one trumpet blast, it's either ascension to heaven or a wedding ceremony. It can severely injure the enemy's spirit and soul. It sends the opponent to heaven, absolutely powerful. Just follow the funeral procession, blow the trumpet, and participate in the funeral. Once you begin, you'll achieve great success 1,000 times over. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Ishaya didn't have time to look at the system. This time, the level of enlightenment was profound, precious. This is like sleep, shallow sleep, deep sleep. He was currently in deep sleep. After a long time, Ishaya regained his senses, his heart clearer about his path. The booted diamond and dragon tiger divine technique were even more perfected. His original sword and fist techniques also had a rough initial form. Unlike other divine abilities, these two divine abilities were most suitable for his physique and true essence. This competition, the gains are truly significant. Ishaya smiled, then glanced at the system, his eyelids twitching. The Taijuan Holy Land's most suitable path of music was only that beautiful girl, Sumayaoan. Ishaya thought of that image, and couldn't help but glare. Although this is somewhat sinister, if unleashed, its power surpasses other divine abilities of the same level. After all, those below the heavenly human realm don't cultivate their divine souls much, and even a saint's son would be severely injured if caught off guard. As for divine soul defensive treasures and sacred artifacts, these are rare. Sacred lands might have them, but they usually won't appear in competitions. Look at burying alive. That's even more sinister. Haha, in a few days' time for the finals, the Taijuan Sacred Land will definitely secure first place. Ishaya looked at the arena, a smile appearing on his face. The other 8 great Sacred Lands geniuses who made it to the finals weren't pushovers. They weren't so easy to deal with. The sun set over the western mountains, the twilight sky filled with the glow of the setting sun. After 9 rounds of the ranking battles, the final stage of the competition had begun. The atmosphere in the arena grew increasingly heated, countless spectators rising to their feet, their hearts pounding as they watched the final battle on the platform. This was merely an ordinary late-stage True Court disciple. Yet he had beaten the peak True Court disciple of the Emperor's Hill Holy Land to a pulp. Little Diamond, breaking off an elephant's leg, I can endure this. But what's the meaning of this kicking the horse and attaching eagle wings? Only those possessing a trace of the great power of heaven and earth in the spirit realm can fly. Those in the true core realm cannot. Yet that Taijuan disciple had forcibly severed both his arms and attached a pair of wings, no bigger than a palm, buzzing and fluttering like a moth. However, they were incredibly agile, suddenly kicking the Emperor's Hill disciple. The disciple, unable to fly, could only passively endure the blows. For a moment, a clamor of voices erupted. Don't talk about martial virtue. This scene caused the gray-robed old man from the Emperor's Hill Holy Land to scratch his head in disbelief. This kid is displaying a rotten technique and a new divine ability. Is this the 80th one? 9 nether true immortals' lips went dry, his heart churning with turmoil. Unless a great relic appeared, Taijuan couldn't possibly possess so many divine abilities. To say they came from the Blood Cave trial was simply ridiculous. These divine abilities had absolutely no connection to the Blood Abyss sect. Soon, the Emperor's Hill disciple finally couldn't withstand the Taijuan disciple's furious stomping and angrily conceded defeat. Taijuan Holy Land, number 87, wins. Following the referee's announcement of the results, today's 10 rounds of competition were completely over. Meanwhile, in the stands and around the arena, countless people looked towards the Qingfeng Holy Lord with expectant eyes, speculating on how many people from each sacred land had killed to advance to the final battle. The most captivating spectacle was undoubtedly the decisive battle. 9 great sacred land disciples clashed, dark horses fought desperately, and the ultimate winner of this generation was decided. Today's competition ends here. The disciples of the sacred lands have exhausted their vital energy and are even more injured. The final battle will be rescheduled for 7 days from now. The Qingfeng Sacred Lord stood up, speaking with a light smile. Suddenly, his gaze fell upon the arena, his eyelids twitching. The arena was stained with fresh blood, a vibrant red, all the blood of the Taijuan disciples who had fought desperately. Then he took the water mirror from the referee's hand, his voice like a resounding bell echoing throughout the entire arena. Each of the 5 contestants will prepare for the decisive battle 7 days later. The final ranking will be announced. Announce the list of those entering the decisive battle. The Holy Lord Xingfeng paused, looking at the water mirror. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire arena fell silent, especially the 9 great holy lands, whose eyes lit up with excitement. Pyamio Holy Land, Pyamio Holy Sun, Taixuan Holy Land, Wang Li. Kunlun Holy Land, Kunlun Holy Sun, Pyamia Holy Land, Li Ling, Taixuan Holy Land, Zhao Zikeng, Gixu Holy Land, Gixu Holy Sun, Taixuan Holy Land, Sumaoan, Taixuan. Following the announcement of the list, the entire arena fell silent. A total of 45 people, excluding the Holy Sun level. That leaves 36. Taixuan Holy Land has 14 people. The gold medal angel investor counted and couldn't help but gasp in disbelief. 9 sacred lands. The Taijuan sacred land occupies nearly half. 14 people. This was almost impossible in the past. Except for the Pyamia sacred land, no other sacred land could occupy so many. 6 or 7 would be considered a lot. I remember last time, only their previous generation's sacred sons entered the final battle. It's still those divine abilities that are the problem. Too abnormal. The sect masters of the major forces were amazed. Taijuan could be said to be a newly emerging force. However, the Pyamia sacred land was not bad either. 13 entered the competition, and their strength was extremely formidable. The worst off were the Kunlun and Divine Sword sacred lands, with only Sucheng and Yuanjing's 2 sacred sons making the list. Ha ha ha, I've entered the final battle. I am the Taijuan king of intimidation. My Taijuan sacred land is the strongest. He he. 14 Taijuan disciples cheered, full of excitement, entering the decisive battle, competing against the other Holy Land Saint sons. The thought alone filled their blood with excitement. Suddenly, their eyes all turned to Yi Xiaoyao in the stands, only to see him smiling at them with an appreciative gaze. Immediately, their spirits lifted, their eyes filled with gratitude and adoration. Without the group, their performance in this competition might have been disastrous. Damn, if it weren't for your evil divine abilities, how could you have made it to the decisive battle? I'm so unwilling. The other Holy Land disciples were like frostbitten eggplants, all indignant upon hearing this. Ha ha ha. What? Not convinced? Come and fight me. Come on. A Taijuan disciple said with a chuckle. This person was none other than Wang Zhen, the first-ranked expert in the Taijuan competition, who was half-step into the spirit realm. Come here, let's see if I can beat you to death. Su Fengliu and Li Ling of the Misty Holy Land were instantly enraged. He was too arrogant. I'm coming. Wang Zhen leapt forward. Su Fengliu was overjoyed, unleashing his demonic fist and killing palm. But just as he advanced, he saw Wang Zhen leap back. I'm back again. I'm jumping over again. I'm jumping back again. What's wrong with that? Hit me, you idiot. Just a quick leap. Wang Zhen leapt back and forth, making a funny face at Su Fengliu. Damn! When the decisive battle begins, I won't kill you. Su Fengliu saw this and his lungs almost exploded with anger. A despicable person. Truly a damn despicable person. The other 8 great Holy Land disciples also gritted their teeth, their anger surging. Even the other holy sons were suppressing their rage. He deserved a beating. Cough cough. The competition is over. All disciples may disperse. The Holy Lord Xingfeng's eyelids twitched. This Taijuan Holy Land had completely alienated the other Holy Lands. In the decisive battle, the disciples of Pyamio and Guisu would absolutely hunt down those 14 Taijuan disciples to their deaths. After he finished speaking, silence fell, and not many people left. May I ask, Senior True Monarch, where exactly do your Holy Lands disciples cultivate these divine abilities? I've never heard of this before. Could you perhaps explain? As the leading reporter of Daoming, Fairy Guling was the first to step forward, looking at the three-eyed True Monarch with extreme curiosity. This question was the source of the Taijuan disciples' sudden rise to power, and it was definitely big news. That's right, I'm also very curious about this. The Golden Nettle Angel investor Li Feng and the demonic investor, the old demon, also expressed their doubts. The dozen or so major sects and clans chimed in, their eyes shining brightly, eagerly looking towards the three-eyed true monarch. Finally, we'll know the origins of these divine abilities. Meanwhile, the disciples of other holy lands were greatly invigorated, their gazes towards the Taijuan disciples filled with envy and jealousy. If it weren't for these monstrous divine abilities, they wouldn't have suffered such a crushing defeat. Moreover, each Taijuan disciple cultivated many different divine abilities. To be clear, the difficulty of this cultivation is very low. With immense power and low cultivation difficulty, who wouldn't be envious? If only they could possess such divine abilities. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Absolute power surpasses all others. It's not convenient to say much. Three-Eyed True Monarch shook his head. Surely, Senior True Monarch is worried that the origin of the divine technique will be exposed, attracting others' covetousness. They are all righteous people. Senior True Monarch, please don't monopolize it, a clan elder spoke weakly. This person's surname was Zhuang, and he belonged to a major clan. Hearing this, the others' expressions changed instantly, and they all looked at the man as if he were an idiot. Is he out of his mind? Even if they covet it, he can't say it out loud. Isn't this asking for death? Even if there's a saint ancestor in the clan, it's not enough to withstand a single blow from Taijuan. How dare you? Do you need to interfere in the affairs of my Taijuan Holy Land? Three-Eyed True Monarch's face suddenly darkened, and his third eye on his forehead suddenly opened. A streak of divine light shot out, like lightning, traversing the entire arena, instantly piercing the heart of the great clan elder, his body collapsing, blood staining the sky. Only a terrified soul escaped. True Monarch, please calm down. It was my fault for not disciplining him properly. The arena master's face turned pale, and he clasped his hands in apology, then glared fiercely at the clan elder. The clan elder's face also turned pale. It's just a small punishment. If you cause trouble again next time, you'll die. The three-eyed true monarch said coldly. This scene shocked the entire arena, leaving it completely silent. The hearts of the great sects and clans in the stands trembled. Although Taijuan had declined somewhat, it was not something they could challenge. All right. The Qingfeng Saint Lord smiled bitterly and stepped forward to mediate. The three-eyed true monarch snorted coldly and sat down again. At this moment, Guang Lingzhen fell silent for a while, looking towards Yi Xiao. I heard rumors before that the Taijuan sect created 100 divine techniques. No one believed it, even scoffing at it, as it was too shocking and unbelievable. Even I didn't believe it, but now I can't disbelieve it anymore. Carefully calculating, Taijuan disciples have fully displayed 80 divine techniques, plus some auxiliary cultivation methods, almost surpassing 100 at this point. Guang Lingzhen's breathing paused slightly, his gaze deep and intense, staring intently at the perpetually calm and indifferent Yi Xiao, speaking each word clearly. This number coincides with the rumors. Therefore, all those divine techniques were created by you. What? These techniques weren't dug out from within the ruins. The rumors are true. The stands fell silent in an instant, every gaze filled with disbelief, expressions of extreme shock. Many people here knew about this, but most who heard this news scoffed, dismissing it as nonsense, and then dismissed it completely. A great desolate being. It's unbelievable. Just like the Venerable Zinkan said, he was still playing in his pants at 8 years old. Creating techniques, and 100 of them. What a joke. How is this possible? Is that guy a reincarnated true immortal? Otherwise, how could he have created so many Earth-level divine techniques? The misty Saint Sun Sufeng Liu was also utterly shocked, staring intensely at the stands. I want to beat someone up. How could he be so incredibly powerful? Li Ling's face stiffened. In his eyes, Yi Xiao was just a low-level cultivator, a mere brat whose blood pit trials were nothing more than fleeting illusions. Moreover, he preferred to lie around doing nothing, and in this life, he could only look up to his own shadow. He never imagined that Yi Xiao could create a cultivation technique, albeit still weak. But with this terrifying comprehension and creativity, its status and value far surpassed his own. 1,000 times, even 10,000 times over. Was he really the clown? The rumors are true. Before, I thought it was some random person from the Dao Alliance making things up. Ancient spirit immortal's small mouth widened into an O shape, her beautiful eyes staring towards the highest point of the auditorium. Being a member of the Tao Alliance, she had an extremely profound understanding of strange and unusual events, even ancient and prehistoric history, and unofficial histories. The world had countless exceptionally talented people, and over countless years, the number was immeasurable. But it's possible to create 100 different cultivation techniques in 3 months. Not a single one. The amount of gold involved is too heavy. I never thought so. I really never thought so. Not only did he break the iron law that mortals cannot cultivate, but he can also create divine abilities. He truly changed the course of the competition by himself. The angel investors, the devil investors, and a dozen or so sects were all shocked, their hands trembling slightly. My eyesight has finally been right. The devil investor laughed loudly, extremely excited. Invest. I'll invest even if it means losing everything. Guangling Jun, is this really true? Don't joke around. The corners of Fan Fang's mouth twitched, and he spoke dryly, barely able to suppress the shock in his heart. 9 Nether True Immortal, True Void Supreme Immortal, and several other great elders of the Holy Lands also held their breath, not blinking an eye. This is probably the source of his strength in winning the Taijuan competition, and also the reason for his confidence in betting on us. Guangling Jun sighed deeply, then glanced at the Heavenly Yuan Holy Master of Kunlun Holy Land, coldly snorting. Of our 8 holy lands, only this guy didn't bet. He probably already knew those divine abilities were created by him. Everyone's eyes shifted, and the Heavenly Yuan Holy Master smiled awkwardly. Finally, everyone's gaze fell on the stage, on that snow-white robe, the young man who looked like a reincarnated immortal. Just created a few divine abilities, nothing surprising. Facing countless red-eyed stares, Yi Ziao remained calm and composed, nonchalant. It seemed like he was just making a few toys, nothing worth mentioning. The crowd, creating several techniques. This damn thing has 100 techniques, and they're earth level. There are even 1 or 2 heaven level techniques. Damn, is this human language? Is there any justice left? Still not. I always feel like he's insulting me. Several great sacred lands, sects, and Tao alliances gritted their teeth, especially those Tao slaying beings above, their faces stiff. They felt this guy was calling them useless, but they couldn't find any evidence. This display, I give it maximum points. The team is still amazing. I, the Taijuan King of Displaying, can't compare. On the side of the arena, Taijuan King of Displaying, Chen Nengshuan, heard this and immediately felt a strong surge of emotion, looking at Yi Xiaoyao with eyes full of admiration. Then he quickly took out his little notebook containing excerpts of his display. 9 Nether True Immortal side, his gaze towards 3-eyed True Monarch filled with envy and jealousy. Even for powerful cultivators, Yi Xiaoyao's creations weren't of a high level, but they were still astonishing, and each one was incredibly cunning. Others shared similar thoughts, their eyes flickering with unease. It's a pity they're only Earth level. If they were any higher, it's fortunate they could only create Earth level techniques, otherwise the demonic Tao would have to wage war against our righteous Tao. Guangling Zhen looked at Yi Xiaoyao with admiration, yet also a hint of complexity. He didn't know whether to be happy or not, or perhaps it should be lost. Level of cultivation techniques and divine abilities. Regarding the overall situation in the Thongyayan realm, the influence is too small. Even at higher levels like the heavenly and spirit stages, the impact isn't very significant. The ultimate goal of cultivation in the 9 great sacred lands is Saint, Saint King, Great Saint, or even achieving the Great Emperor level. The earth and heavenly levels are of no help to these people. Further up, the earth and heavenly stages are already incredibly powerful. As for surpassing the spirit stage and creating sacred techniques, that's impossible. The difficulty is too great. It takes us years to comprehend even one technique. Even reincarnated immortals couldn't do it. Sacred techniques, this level can truly influence the balance of power between good and evil. The appearance of even one technique is enough to cause bloodshed among major forces. If Yi Xiaoyao had this ability, even the demonic Tao quasi-emperors have to crawl out from their graves to start a war. The Holy Lord Xingfeng and others shook their heads decisively. In the primordial chaos, before entering the mythical era, legends say that true immortals created great divine abilities. These were the strongest, the 36 heavenly gangs and 72 earthly fiends, a total of 108 types of divine abilities. No matter how many variations there were, they never deviated from the essence. This is the source of all divine abilities. They were lost not too long ago. The current saint level also evolved from these divine abilities, divided into earthly fiends sacred techniques and heavenly gangs sacred techniques. Great emperor techniques also originated from here, standing on the shoulders of giants to surpass them. As long as a divine ability has the word saint attached to it, regardless of its power or profoundness, it is unimaginable. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Even with Yijia's extraordinary talent, it's impossible for him to create a divine ability of this caliber. It's not something that can be created simply by relying on innate talent. Meanwhile, throughout the entire arena, no one dispersed. Countless people gazed at Yixiao with burning eyes, as if looking at a stunning beauty. What a treasure! Truly a priceless treasure. However, their envy and jealousy didn't lead them to harbor any ulterior motives. They all knew the difficulty of creating a cultivation technique, and they estimated that those 100 divine abilities must have taken Yixiao several years to create. 3 months was simply an exaggeration. They still leaned towards the idea of him spending several years. As for asking for the technique, they didn't consider it. He wouldn't possibly spend that long creating it for you. Any price would be unlikely. However, my dear girl, do you see, Taizhuan, the young master, has a massive male physique. Borrow his second brother for a while, create a little Yixiao, and his talent will surely be extraordinary. Granddaughter, whether our Zheng family can rise depends on you. Join the Taizhuan Holy Land. Even if you can't become Yi Zhaoyao's wife, a concubine will do. Have a child, and the mother's status will increase with the child's. That's not right. The competition for Yi Zhaoyao's concubine position is fierce. Some sect masters and family heads of major forces whispered to their beautiful daughters and grandsons. He's only 8 years old. He doesn't have that function yet. Those young girls clamped their legs together, glancing at Yi Xiao, their faces flushed. After hesitating, they whispered back, "Don't worry, he's so tall. He'll definitely mature early. He'll definitely be quite large. See, this is our clan's secret medicine, the Tathagata Great Buddha Staff. Since you can't compete with other women, you drug him. With such a potent drug, there will surely be a brave man." In the stands. Seeing that other major clans also harbored similar intentions, many forces immediately became anxious. The clan leaders and family heads solemnly instructed the girls in their clans, practically performing a display of divine abilities like the 8 immortals crossing the sea. Yet Yi Xiao was completely unaware of this. We still need to add another torch. In these 7 days, I will impart these divine abilities and thoroughly ignite this fire. Yi Xiao narrowed his eyes, in a good mood. What he wanted was to make a name for himself, openly spread his teachings, and slowly bring the 9 great sacred lands, major sects, great clans, and all the righteous forces under his control. Entering the Heavenly Master Scripture Repository was just one of his goals. How are my Taizhuan disciples? Do they have the ability to compete for first place in the competition? Tam Nanzhenjin looked towards Guanling Jun, laughed heartily, then glanced around at Jiyu Zhenren and the others, mockingly saying, "Don't forget your baits, as." Soon as he said this, Jiyu Zhenren, Qingfeng Saint Lord, and the spokespersons from several other holy lands turned pale, filled with regret. Other forces in the stands were also shocked. Before the competition began, Guanling Jun and his group had placed significant baits on Yi Xiao. Guanling Chun's great saint artifact, the Heavenly Master Holy Land Scripture Repository, Jiyu Zhenren's life-enhancing holy elixir, the granddaughter of the gray-robed old man from Emperor Qiu, the Sun and Moon Palace, and the Penglai Holy Land, they've all placed heavy baits. The investors, bookmakers, and the Zheng family, among other major forces, were all terrified. Previously, these powerful figures had clearly disregarded the odds, placing heavy baits without considering that Taizhuan Holy Land had the qualifications to compete for first place. But now, Taizhuan Holy Land had. 14 young prodigies have entered the fray. If they were to win the top prize, then these sacred lands would suffer from anemia, especially the great saint artifacts. They are rare treasures in the world, of immeasurable value. Even the misty sacred land would hesitate to acquire them for years. The Heavenly Master Sacred Land Scripture Repository is even more extremely important. Even great saints would want to enter and take a look. If it were before, with Taijuan possessing these divine abilities, he might have been able to compete with my misty sacred land for the top prize, but now, I'm afraid there's no hope. Guanglingjian remained calm, shaking his head and sneering. Hearing this, the Nine-Nether True Immortal's spirit was shaken, his face relaxed, and he clapped his hands and laughed. That's right, these divine abilities are strange and powerful, but if we take precautions and target them, with the foundation of these misty sacred land disciples, we can handle them. Absolutely correct. After 7 days of decisive battle, this little time is enough for the misty Holy Land to devise a plan to neutralize those divine abilities. Without those divine abilities, the Taijuan disciples' true skills are insufficient to defeat the misty Holy Land. Under the moonlight, the true Void Venerable also smiled, showing no worrying. They didn't want to give away their treasures for free. In the misty Holy Land, anyone who can make it to the finals is not kind-hearted. Their aptitude, true essence, physique, combat experience, and everything else are top-notch. Although the Taijuan Holy Land's outburst is strong, their cultivation and aptitude are ultimately inferior, and their endurance is their biggest weakness. Once their ultimate move is unleashed, the misty Holy Land disciples will use guerrilla warfare to directly wear down Taijuan. Many forces nodded in agreement, and the disciples of the Emperor's Hill, the ruins of the Void, and the Sun and Moon Palace were even more excited, their eyes shining brightly. He kept glancing at the Taijuan disciples, his excitement palpable. Meanwhile, the Taijuan disciples, their previous smiles gone, were replaced by grim expressions. This was indeed their weakness. For example, the blood-stained demon-slaying technique, which required blood to drain in a minute or even half an hour. Even women couldn't handle that. I think the decisive battle doesn't need 7 days. It's a waste of time. Let's do it tomorrow. Three-eyed True Monarch's face twitched, looking somewhat displeased. Initially, the misty Holy Land score was already far superior to his own. Giving them 7 days to find a countermeasure would significantly reduce Taijuan's chances of winning first place. This is the rule. It's been in place for so many years, it can't be changed. Besides, these disciples definitely need to recover from their injuries. Qingfeng Holy Master chuckled like a cunning old fox. After saying that, he glared at Yi Xiaoyao. You still can't enter the scripture repository. Really? Yi Xiaoyao closed his eyes, remaining calm and composed as before. Disciples of the misty immortal palace, do you have the confidence to suppress Taijuan? Guanglingjian didn't answer, looking towards the misty palace disciples on the arena, and calmly said, we will definitely suppress Taijuan. My misty immortal palace has held the top spot for countless years, and Taijuan is still causing trouble. If one comes, I'll take one. If two come, I'll take two. 10 disciples of the misty Holy Land roared, their gazes towards Taijuan Holy Land filled with provocation and aggression. Among them, Su Fengliu and Li Ling even grinned, constantly glancing at the 14 people from Taijuan. I don't believe that even in a decisive battle, we still won't find that mysterious person. Threats of humiliation. I will definitely repay 100-fold. Li Ling gritted his teeth. He had watched Taijuan fight countless battles, his eyes almost popping out, still unable to find that mysterious ghost knight spear. Junior brother Ziyao, how is it? Guangling Jun looked at Yi Ziyao, a smile playing on his lips. Without waiting for a reply, he stood up and laughed loudly. Kid, you're still too young to fight me. After saying that, he clasped his hands behind his back and walked away. After 7 days, wait for me to 30 you all. The young geniuses of the misty Holy Land provocatively raised their middle fingers, then quickly left. In the decisive battle, they faced not only Taijuan, but also the other Holy Sons. Those were the ones standing at the pinnacle of their generation. Ziyao, I'll say it again. Cultivate diligently. Becoming strong yourself is the only way to rely on yourself. The Holy Lord Qingfeng solemnly reminded Yu Ziyao before leaving. On the viewing platform, the major forces dispersed, and the disciples of the several Holy Lands on the arena also scattered like birds. I didn't expect the Taijuan Holy Land to produce such a creative prodigy of divine abilities. It's unbelievable. He single-handedly raised this generation of Taijuan disciples. Many returned to their residences, still in a daze, unable to believe it. Each competition among the 9 great holy lands attracted widespread attention, from the ancient races to the demonic path. This time, regardless of whether the Taijuan Holy Land won the championship, its reputation would undoubtedly soar. And the matter of Yi Ziyao creating 100 different cultivation techniques was firmly established. Before long, his fame would spread far and wide, shaking half the Kangyuan continent. Prepare yourselves, seize the opportunity, and immediately head to the Taijuan Holy Land, conduct a joint interview. In a fragrant pavilion, the ancient spirit immortal, having just returned, her beautiful eyes sparkling with excitement, immediately gave orders to her subordinates. She was acting as the chief reporter. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Naturally, she had her own companion, accompanied by 2 young women. One wore a long blue dress, exuding an older sisterly charm. The other wore a white silk dress, giving her a sweet, girlish look. Yes, sisterling, this time it's definitely going to be a huge hit. We're going to strike it rich. The beautiful girl's face flushed with excitement, almost jumping for joy. Having absorbed the light from doming, they could actually earn points. It all depended on how many people bought this news. Tobacco platform. First floor hall, Yi Xiaoyao sat on a reclining chair, with 3-eyed true monarch on the other side. Below stood the Taijuan Saint Sun, the king of the underworld Chen Nangshuan, the dog king Wang Li, the despicable King Zin, Yi Xiaoyao's number 1 Fin Feng Che, and 10 other disciples vying for the decisive battle. For a moment, there was silence, the atmosphere very heavy. Supreme Elder, we are still 30 points behind the misty Holy Land. It will be very difficult to surpass them during the decisive battle. The misty Holy Land has many powerful experts. Little Merchant King Du Sheng, punishing the evil god Li Ling, the Leg King Ma family, Little Fist King Luo Feng. Adding the misty Holy Land's relentless targeting. I'm afraid the first one is hopeless. Taijuan Holy Sun's delicate eyebrows furrowed, his long robe slightly protruding. After the great battle, the disciples present had lost their initial enthusiasm and were now seriously facing the decisive battle. Knowing their own limitations, their endurance was indeed a weakness. Of course, in some aspects, their endurance was still not a problem. 3-eyed true monarch also frowned, thinking for a moment, then finally shook his head with a wry smile. 7 days' time, even with his teaching, he couldn't possibly make much progress for these disciples. Ziya, junior brother, do you have a way? His heart stirred, and he looked towards Yi Ziyao. Upon hearing this, all the disciples present were invigorated, their eyes filled with anticipation. Yi Xiaoyao stroked his chin, narrowed his eyes, and smiled. Yes, really, that's great, worthy of being a junior. Taijuan and the others showed ecstatic joy, excitedly starting to speak. Even if you have a way, there might not be enough time. You can't use secret elixirs, or even powerful spiritual treasures and artifacts. 3-eyed true monarch was surprised, wondering what method this guy had. Whether it was cultivation techniques or divine abilities, they all required time to cultivate. Secret elixirs were, of course, out of the question, but spiritual treasures and Dao weapons surpassed treasures, possessing immense power, used only by those in the spirit realm and above the heavenly human realm. The competition in the Holy Land was still relatively fair. Yi Xiaoyao shook his head, wrote down a few sheets of paper, and taught the divine abilities one by one. The illusionary escape technique. Does that increase speed with 1 slash? Wow, it's a heaven-level movement technique. Wang Zhen's eyes widened in disbelief. Movement techniques were far more rare than offensive techniques, let alone heaven-grade movement techniques. This level of movement technique required immense contribution in the Taijuan Holy Land. He couldn't afford it even if he sold everything he owned. Even I, a pervert, feel like I'm a pervert. My body isn't strong enough. I can't handle it at all. Luckily, I've cultivated the body-strengthening techniques taught by the sect master. I'm Wang Hui, brother. Come and chop me. Gathering 1,000 blows will double the speed. Zhao Zikang's eyelids twitched. He could already picture that scene. He only needed to survive. His breath alone could kill his opponent. Just one more blow to succeed. Just one more. The 3-eyed true monarch glanced at the divine technique in his hand, shocked by Yi Xiaoyao's heaven-defying creativity. Heaven-grade divine techniques were rarely seen among the disciples, yet he created them so casually. Too perverted. This divine ability, it's either seeking death or seeking death on the way. Three-eyed true monarch was completely convinced. He suddenly remembered the saint son of the ruins of the void, Mo Three Blades. That name, there was nothing that couldn't be solved with one blow. If there was, then two blows. It seems Mo Three Blades has met his match. And then there's this burial. Since joining the group, strange skills have become more and more numerous. Haha, the group leader is thinking of us. If our cultivation is completely ruined and we wander the mortal world, we can still rely on disguise and digging holes to bury corpses. The disciples' faces twitched. Burying people is no problem, but burying oneself. Is it certain that one won't die? Moreover, if this divine ability were passed on to those senior and junior brothers, if things go wrong, the Taijuan sacred land will turn into a pile of graves. Even the formation of a high-value burial ground and industrial chain is becoming a reality. Looking at the next divine ability, it's still a heaven level 1. It must be said that this young master is truly terrifying. He can now create heaven level abilities with ease. 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix, another soul-attacking divine ability. Three-eyed true monarch gasped, staring intensely at Yi Xiaoyao. Soul-attacking divine abilities are rare, and the difficulty of creating them is much higher than other divine abilities. How is this possible? Jia Yao's divine soul isn't strong. How could he have studied the divine soul? Just relying on reading those ancient texts? But Yi Xiaoyao was relaxed and unconcerned. When Three-eyed true monarch saw the last divine ability, he completely lost his composure, suddenly standing up, his face filled with shock. A cursed divine ability. This is even more extraordinary than creating 100 Earth-level divine abilities. Throughout the entire Kingyuan realm, the skilled in curses are extremely rare, even among demonic cultivators, let alone righteous cultivators. Even the Taijuan sect couldn't find many such techniques, even fewer than the saint level. How on earth did this guy create this? The three-eyed true immortal could hardly imagine it, truly suspecting that Yi Xiaoyao was some ancient demon from a mythical era reincarnated. The hanging demon slaying technique, oh, the young master really trusts me too much. He didn't even suspect I was hanged. Wow, beyond the underworld. I absolutely never thought this could become a divine ability. And it's not bad at all. Haha, a dragon's funeral is almost complete. After hanging, lying down, dressing up, playing the trumpet, 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix, digging a grave and burying. All that's missing is a coffin. The disciples praised him profusely, slapping their thighs in admiration, completely subdued. The young master was truly a god. Have you seen everything? Once you've seen everything, prepare your materials and follow me to cultivate. I've already found a cultivation place for you. Yi Xiaoyao said calmly, standing up. Found a cultivation place. The group was stunned, their hearts immediately filled with joy and anticipation. This was the first time the leader himself had led them in cultivation. Anyone would be excited. They all speculated about the cultivation place the leader had chosen for them. Soon, the disciples prepared everything, went to the Heavenly Master Holy Land City to buy healing pills and blood replenishing pills, and spent a lot of money to hire a master craftsman to create a batch of treasure horns. The master craftsmen who could blend in with the Heavenly Master Holy Land were naturally very skilled. Creating treasure horns wasn't difficult, and they finished in half a day. Besides that, there were also a dozen or so special blood-stained hemp vines, iron shovels, and materials for refining concrete. At midnight, darkness enveloped the area, dark clouds covered the sky, and thunder rumbled. 10 disciples clad in black robes crept towards the outside of the Heavenly Master's sacred land. What are they going to do? At the tobacco platform, a woman emerged from the shadows, watching the 10 Taijuan disciples silently depart with a puzzled expression. She was the first attendant of the ancient spirit immortal, White Starch. Yi Xiaoyao, now a celebrity, naturally wanted to monitor and record relevant information. Sisterling, the plan has changed. White Starch quickly transmitted a message to the ancient spirit immortal. A moment later, the ancient spirit immortal arrived with Zi Qing. They must be preparing for the decisive battle. They're secretly cultivating. This is a great opportunity, ancient spirit immortal fairy's eyes shone brightly. Hearing this, the white powder and little Ching immediately brightened up, happily saying, if we can see them cultivating, it might be of great help to our own cultivation. Unlike ancient spirit immortal fairy, their cultivation wasn't high, only at the true core stage. That's right, let's go take a look. Ancient spirit immortal fairy was very excited, quickly following the aura left by the other party and quietly pursuing them with her little attendants. Regarding the cultivation of Taijuan disciples, not only them, but also the other holy lands and those great sects and clans were especially curious and eager to find out the truth. This was the basis of Taijuan's rapid rise and dominance over other holy lands. No one could help but be tempted and envious. Whoosh! Ancient spirit immortal fairy pursued them, and rain began to fall from the sky, until the rain poured down and the wind held. The Heavenly Master's sacred land was shrouded in a thick, unusually gloomy mist, with the grass and trees swaying in the dim light. The three ancient spirit immortals dared not use too much of their cultivation, so they had to hang up their oil paper umbrellas and walk along the mountain path. Large raindrops, like peas, pounded against the umbrellas, making a pattering sound. The night rain continued. They left the Heavenly Master's sacred land and arrived at a desolate wasteland overgrown with weeds. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Crack! A flash of lightning exploded, instantly illuminating the tombs ahead, and the rustling of the trees swaying in the wind. Heavy rain mixed with mud, forming a small stream that flowed out from the depths of the graveyard. Let's go back. This place is too scary. The white powder on her embroidered shoes was wet, and she rubbed her hands, her arms covered in goosebumps, feeling a little scared and shrinking back. She had some impression of this graveyard. It contained the remains of demonic cultivators and evil people eradicated by the Heavenly Master's sacred land. Each one died with their eyes wide open, their resentment deep. Moreover, there really were ghosts here. This is a rare opportunity. If we can learn the secrets of their cultivation, everything will be worth it. Ancient Spirit Immortal gritted her teeth. She was also a little annoyed. She really didn't know what Taijuan and the others were up to in this graveyard. Continuing forward, they finally spotted the 10 disciples of the Taijuan Holy Land. Are they digging graves? The 3 women hid behind a thick cypress tree, watching a dozen or so men in black clothes digging graves with iron shovels. The damp earth was hard and difficult to dig through, permeated by the yin energy. They all felt a sudden urge to flee. Those men were crazy. If they were discovered, would they be tortured to death and dismembered? Finally, the 3 women, including Guling, were completely subdued. Trembling, they watched them dig open one grave after another, pull out the skeletons inside, and throw them aside. Then, with a thud, the dozen or so people all lay down. Senior brother, please bury me, thank you. P.S. Looking at the reader's wild imaginations, I got some inspiration, but to make it more reasonable, I can only set the saint level for now. I'll write more later. Another round of small gifts please in a corner of the cemetery. Yishaya sat cross-legged on a cypress tree, a coffin lid blocking the branches above his head, preventing rainwater from reaching him. The land of extreme yin, quite interesting. Yishaya ignored the 3 reporters, narrowing his eyes as he looked towards the depths of the tombs. These tombs were enormous, the yin energy extremely heavy, and the deepest part was filled with an overwhelming yin energy, forming a thick fog. Deep within the fog, faint lights flickered. It was as if a city was situated within, incredibly bustling. That place was definitely extremely ominous. But Yishaya was too lazy to care. Shaking his head, he took out a short novel, The Golden Years After My Death, and began reading it carefully. Is this the secret cultivation method of the Taijuan Holy Land? The little immortal fairy Guling's face turned pale. Her knowledge was even broader than that of some Dao-slaying kings, but she had never seen anything so unusual. Even the great demonic cultivators would have to address her as a professional. Meanwhile, in the graveyard, 2 people who hadn't yet been buried heard this and said disapprovingly, "Senior brother doesn't have time to fill you in." Saying this, the 2 men looked intently in the direction of immortal fairy Guling, a smile appearing on their faces. Crack! A flash of lightning streaked across, a white light suddenly appearing, illuminating the 2 men's pale faces beneath their black robes, along with their protruding teeth. "Please, 3 of you, help bury these junior brothers of mine." Having said this, without waiting for immortal fairy Guling's reply, they each pulled out blood-red thorny vines, threw them at the twisted necks of the two men, and wobbled nooses. Then the two men leapt, jumping a meter into the air, their heads perfectly fitting into the nooses, and they fell straight down. The corpses were motionless. Their eyes bulged, their faces were a purplish red, and their tongues stretched out long. It was clear they wouldn't survive. Creak, creak. The two bodies were battered by the rain, swaying precariously in the gloomy graveyard at night, their necks skewered by falling trees. A gust of cold wind, carrying rainwater, swept through. The faces of the three ancient, spirit immortal maidens turned pale, nearly giving them heart attacks. "Brother, this tree isn't sturdy. It won't kill me." One of the men mumbled from his throat. "Damn it, one tree won't kill you. Let's try another." "There'll always be one that can hang you," another cursed. After a moment, there was complete silence. "Run, run!" Ancient, spirit immortal maiden's hands trembled as they quickly retreated. She hadn't gone more than a few steps when she heard voices coming from the pits. "Don't leave. Help us fill in the earth. If you don't, we'll rape and murder you. Rape and murder again. Fill it in. I'll fill it in." The girl, terrified, burst into tears. Trembling, she rushed forward, grabbing an iron shovel and filling one of the pits with earth. In no time, a mound of earth was erected. Just as she was about to leave, a mournful voice came from inside the grave. "The earth isn't firm enough. Stomp on it twice. Make it solid. You're all a bunch of perverts. Come on, leave quickly." The girl stretched out her small foot and stomped on the grave. She didn't want to stay there for another second. It was too terrifying. Finally, she managed to fill the last pit, exhausted and drenched in sweat, breathing heavily. Her silk dress was soaked by the rain, revealing her graceful, alluring figure. "Father!" Suddenly, a cold, icy hand rested on her shoulder from behind, and a hoarse, aged voice whispered in her ear. The voice was deep, unpleasant, and hoarse, yet tinged with a sharp edge. "Little girl, dig it open again for me. This is my tomb." The white-faced girl mechanically turned her head, and a face full of wrinkles and covered in decaying skin, belonging to an old man, was right before her eyes. A pair of ink-black eyes stared intently at her. "Ah, ah!" The white-faced girl screamed in terror, running away as fast as she could. The beautiful, snow-white face of the ancient spirit fairy was also terrified at the sight of the old man. She no longer remembered the interview and fled frantically into the pouring rain. In a few breaths, she disappeared into the vast downpour. Only a withered corpse stood motionless among the graves. "I've been lying here for hundreds of years, and while I'm out for a walk, you've taken over my home. Young man, do you have any sense of decency?" The old man with the corpse stretched out his dry, cold hand and pounded the grave. "Old man, I'll borrow your grave for a moment. I'll return it to you later. You should find somewhere else to sleep." Wang Zhen's voice came from inside. "I'm glad you answered me, but I really dislike your tone," the old man with the corpse said hoarsely, plunging his hands into the grave and beginning to dig. "I'm old. I need a bed. I can't sleep somewhere else." Wang Zhen also became enraged, a mournful voice emanating from within the tomb. "You old fools, can you stop being so brainless? No other place will do." The old man with the corpse robe trembled, seemingly furious. "Damn your ancestors! You're occupying my tomb, and you're still arguing. Do you know how expensive this burial ground is? I've worked hard for over 100 years to buy a decent, auspicious place, and it's an installment payment plan. I'll pay it back in 200 years. Get out of here." The old man with the corpse robe was surrounded by swirling black energy, frantically digging at the tomb. Hey, let's take it easy, old man. We're just using it for cultivation. We'll return it to you in a few days. At most, we'll pay you rent, okay?" Voices came from the neighboring tombs, among them the gentle and amiable voice of the Taijuan saint's son. Yes, old man, seeing you all alone here. You must be feeling lonely. How about I chat with you for a few cents to cheer you up?" Feng Zhai, hanging from a crooked tree trunk, swayed like a dead fish a few times, his purplish red face turned towards the side. "I can sing for you too." The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Another voice came from within the tomb, that of the beautiful little girl Sumayaon. "Impossible. Absolutely impossible. This is my bed for decades. I cherish it like a treasure. I wouldn't even let a speck of dirt fall off. Add more money. The old man in the tomb didn't move for a moment, remaining silent, then said gloomily, "How much?" Wang Zhen's voice came from within the tomb. As a righteous disciple, occupying someone else's house was indeed somewhat unethical. 100 yin-type divine essences. The old man in the tomb said dryly. Damn, 100, and it's yin-type divine essences. Why don't you just go rob someone else? Wang Li, hanging from another crooked tree, glared with dead fish eyes. In this world, the currency is yuan stones, and only above that is divine essence. Divine essences are resources even saints are scarce, and they are extremely useful for cultivation. There's no shortage of raw stones in the Taijuan Holy Land, but divine essence is extremely scarce. 100 blocks is equivalent to the entire fortune of a great Dao integration realm expert. Where would these disciples get such a thing? That's right, I'm going to steal it. The old man with the corpse spots suddenly stood up, his face full of corpse spots revealing a ferocious expression. He pulled out a large, black, handsome saber. Quick, hand over all your belongings. As expected of a demonic cultivator, even after dying and becoming an yin corpse, he's still robbing people. He must have been killed by righteous brothers while robbing people on the road. Voices came from several graves nearby. Just then, several ghosts full of vital energy flew out from the depths. Hey, old Li, don't be impulsive. These Taijuan disciples aren't easy to mess with. Right, all right, just bear with it for a few days. Why don't you come to my house? We can sleep together. My bed is big and soft, it's possible to transform into a demon. And there are also yin corpses. Moreover, they were specially buried here by the Heavenly Master Holy Land. Before dying, they were all high-ranking figures of the demonic path. After death, their remnant souls are shattered, their resentment doesn't dissipate, and after a while, there's a probability they become ghosts cultivating the demonic path. And their nature is inherently cruel. Noith is next to the Heavenly Master Holy Land, and under the leadership of the great old Heavenly Master, they have long since implemented new socialist education. Who would dare cause trouble? Standing there talking doesn't hurt your back. Let him occupy your graves and see. I still have 200 years worth of debt to repay. The old man of the corpse sect was instantly enraged. The few old ghosts who had just arrived, although they hadn't left the graveyard and only inherited fragments of memories from their lives, still knew the name of the Taijuan Holy Land. These disciples had the Taijuan Holy Land Yuan symbol on their inner robes. Who among them dared to cause trouble? At this moment, several old demons' eyes lit up, looking towards the corpse-spattered old man behind them, their saliva almost dripping down. What a soft young man! Gentlemen, I, a disciple of the Taijuan sect, am borrowing your precious cultivation ground for a few days. Yi Xiao held an oil paper umbrella, standing there with a calm and composed demeanor. What the hell do you think you are? The corpse-spattered old man stared at Yi Xiao, his mouth spewing fragrant smoke. His ink-black eyes darted around, seemingly harboring some wicked intentions. Such a young brat, it was the first time he'd ever seen one. If only he could take a bite out of him, how delightful. He was pleased. Yi Xiao smiled without speaking, pointing upwards. The corpse-spattered old man and several other old demons looked up, only to see a blurry figure in a blood-red robe silently watching them. It's just borrowing this old man's bed for a while. Easy to say. Easy to say. Don't just borrow it for a few days. Staying longer is no problem. The old man directly used his hand to break his own spine, holding it above his waistband. His back bent downwards, afraid that his humility would not be sincere enough. WTF? Even a half-step great saint has been invited. Who exactly is this young man, this junior of a great Buddha? His background is too strong. Even my dried corpse isn't as tough as his. According to the ghost cultivator's cultivation level, he's at least equivalent to a heavenly human realm ghost general. But in the eyes of a great saint, he's no different from an ant. How can you stop a Taijuan disciple cultivating here? Oh Li, I'm not saying this to criticize you, but under the wise leadership of the Heavenly Master's sacred land, how can you, this old corpse, be so impolite? You have friends from afar, and you don't even bother to say anything. Do you understand the punishment? That's right, old Li, did you hear about Kong Rong leaving a tomb? How about leaving a tomb? Several old ghosts trembled, immediately turning around and beginning to scold the old man in charge of the corpse. Haha, young man, have some tea. No, have some tea. Then they hurriedly approached Yi Xiaoyao, bowing and scraping. They clattered and pulled out a large pile of pots, bowls, and basins, rummaging around for a long time to find old tea utensils, and using ghost fire to brew a pot of tea. Even more quickly, some old ghosts erected a thatched hut above Yi Xiaoyao to shelter him from the rain, performing the complete act of hunting dogs. All you Taijuan disciples, since you've come to my house, don't be shy. The old ghost group took out several pots of old wine, poured them onto the 10 graves, and finally erected tents on each grave. It's raining, the air is humid, it's easy to get rheumatism. He glanced around. It was similar to a tent containing a coffin. The 10 disciples inside the graves expressed their approval. Polite, occupying my bed, and you're still being polite. The old man grumbled inwardly, growing angrier the more he thought about it. I've lived too long. I can't keep up with the times. Are the cultivation sacred lands so abnormal these days, cultivating inside graves? Don't mind him. This old ghost has cultivated for too long. His brain is messed up. Please sit. An old ghost produced an armchair, his sleeves covered in solidified yin energy, wiping away the dust. Not bad, truly, my dear old friend. What's your name? Yi Xiaoyao nodded, lay down, and took a sip of tea. The old man's name is Jia Dibao, and when he was alive, his nickname was Shadow Demon Venerable. Shadow Demon Venerable, TSK. Wang Li, hanging precariously from a tree, exclaimed in shock. Isn't that the Shadow Demon Venerable from the Taiyan Demon Palace 3,000 years ago? This is a half-step saint, a quasi-saint. The others were also terrified. They couldn't tell at all. This dog-like fellow was actually a quasi-saint from back then, and an immortal demon, a member of the Taiyan Demon Palace. It's all empty fame, not worth mentioning. Shadow Demon Venerable bowed his head and humbly said, Quasi-saint? Even the most powerful couldn't compare to that one. It seems you all had significant status and influence when you were alive. Yi Xiaoyao's eyes lit up, and he clapped his hands and laughed. How about we sit down and have a discussion? Discussing philosophy. It's possible that someone could guide him, and perhaps even create a divine technique, thus verifying his own path. The demon Shadow Immortal and the others exchanged bewildered glances, wondering where this young fellow, whose hair hadn't even fully grown yet, got the confidence to sit down and discuss the Tao with them. Different realms meant differences not only in cultivation level, but also in mental state and understanding of the profound principles of the great Tao. It was like a mathematician debating with a primary school student. It would be fortunate if the other party could even understand. Fine, forget it. The old man with the corpse forced a smile, not wanting to waste time with this child. If they talked nonsense, this little one wouldn't understand, and what could they do if he got impatient? It's all right, come on. Yi Xiaoyao chuckled. The old ghost and the withered corpse Wuyan could only engage in a brief discussion of cultivation with Yi Xiaoyao. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. At first, they didn't pay attention, but as the conversation deepened, they gradually became astonished, their gazes towards Yi Xiaoyao resembling those of a prodigy. From cultivation techniques, divine abilities, practice, physique, alchemy, and artifact crafting, this young man's knowledge was terrifying. He also possessed unique insights into the great Tao, which were truly enlightening. When did such a monstrous talent appear in the Taijuan Holy Land? He's only 8 years old. What an old monster! The demon Shadow Immortal and the old corpse were both stunned, finally understanding why this person had a great saint-level existence by his side. He was simply too monstrous. Ultimately, what astonished and terrified them most was that when they discussed the path of ghost cultivation, although the young man didn't understand the ghost Tao very well, if they raised a question, he could absolutely provide a solution based on the question itself. It was as if a great gate had opened for them, and they understood. The aura of the ghost cultivators was also strengthening. This was a manifestation of their cultivation progressing through some ghost paths. Even the old man who practiced corpse cultivation, specializing in refining his own corpses, felt a sense of clarity and enlightenment. Even a reincarnated great emperor couldn't surpass this. If I followed this person closely, frequently listening to his insightful advice, I would surely avoid many detours in the path of ghost cultivation. From shock to joy, the old ghosts and the demon shadow immortal looked at Ishaya with solemn eyes, their gazes becoming deeply humbled. Ding, you have gained much insight from your discussions with the 5 ghost cultivators, studied the old corpse's cultivation path, and integrated the various cultivation techniques and scriptures you've read. You have created the broken limb demonic technique. The demonic fragmentation technique, heavenly rank beginner, transform any part of your body into a divine weapon, which can then be controlled by threads of true essence to remotely attack and kill enemies. Just place a certain part of your body into a refining furnace, subject it to intense heat, hammer blows, tempering, and a little pain, 81,000 times, and you can succeed. Yi Zhangyao's hand trembled, spilling tea from his cup onto the ground. This pain, I'm afraid I can't bear it. Time passed slowly. The atmosphere in the sacred land grew increasingly noisy and bustling. On the 3rd day, numerous major sects and clans arrived to watch the decisive battle. For them, the 10 rounds of ranking battles that had just begun were unimportant. The most important thing was the decisive battle. Anyone who could reach the decisive battle was undoubtedly a prodigy from the 9 great sacred lands, destined to become a dominant figure in the future. They would almost certainly shape the political landscape for thousands of years to come, having a profound influence. If these major sects could forge a good relationship with 1 or 2 of them, it was possible they could save their lives in the future. What? 14 people from the Taijuan sacred land have made it into the decisive battle round. Holy cow, is that true? The Taijuan ancestor Yishayao created 100 cultivation techniques, and he single-handedly raised the strength of this Taijuan realm. What did I miss? I should have come a few days ago. The major clans and sects who entered the Heavenly Master Holy Land were utterly shocked upon hearing the news, pounding their chests and stamping their feet in regret for arriving late. The disciples of the Taijuan sect who cultivated divine abilities were extremely curious about this group. They had heard from onlookers that the divine abilities were very strange, but they had never actually seen them. They were even more curious about the legendary Taijuan sect's young master, wanting to see what kind of immortal being he truly was. By the 4th day, the Heavenly Master Holy Land was in an uproar. Besides Taijuan and the Misty Immortal Palace, the disciples of the other 7 great holy lands all came out of their tobacco-smoking platforms, gazing into the distance. They saw an ancient bronze chariot driving from outside the Heavenly Master Holy Land, pulled by 9 dragons, each possessing at least the Tao integration realm of cultivation. Soaring through the clouds and riding the wind, its power shaking the 8 directions, a truly magnificent display. A large flag fluttered in the wind, inscribed with a single character, a vague and mysterious ancient script, in an obscure, ancient style. This is the mark of the 9 Phoenix clan. That ancient imperial clan. Hiss, how did this terrifying force get here? Sitting on the platform, the Heavenly Origin Saint Master gasped, his expression changing. Among the myriad ancient races, the 10 great ancient imperial clans were revered, ruling over the entire ancient era. Their profound foundations were unimaginable. Even the great emperor of the divine sword Holy Land couldn't suppress them. 9 heavens, 9 great realms, the Azure Abyss being only the first. The origins of the ancient races can be traced back to the 3rd heaven. But there is a true immortal there. More than 3 months before the Blood Cave trial, the ancient race didn't participate, also because of the emergence of the ancient prince of the 9 Phoenix clan. This sudden arrival at the Heavenly Master's Holy Land, what are they trying to do? 9 Nether true immortal frowned. For so many years, although the ancient race and the human race had small-scale wars and conflicts, that was just normal behavior. They would hone their descendants, seize treasure lands and relics, and so on. Didn't you see the news? True Immortal took out a book, spat, and rubbed his hands together. Like an old scholar, he flipped to a page. On it was a shocking news report. Shocking. The ancient imperial family's ancient prince of the 9 Phoenix clan has emerged, inviting all races to a banquet for the 8 desserts. I thought all the news was just recent reports. I didn't expect there to be something real. 9 Nether true immortal stammered, peeking out and saying indifferently, "Is this a celebration for the birth of the ancient prince? A full-month feast?" What a grand gesture, inviting them all here. Heavenly Origin Saint Master rolled his eyes. Your fortune. Nine Nether True Immortal immediately flared up. Your fortune. Your fortune. The two cursed at each other, leaving the disciples behind stunned. It's not that simple. This feast isn't just for show. True Immortal shook his head. This battle was too big. The invitations probably weren't just from the righteous path, but also from the demonic path. It's possible that the mysterious demonic brat who made the challenge with Yishayao will also come. The great witch god and Yishayao had made an agreement, and everyone knew about it. The waters here are very deep. The 9 great sacred lands must all be on the invitation list. Otherwise, the 9-leaved Phoenix clan wouldn't have chosen this time for the competition. The person on the moonlit Penglai sacred land frowned, feeling something was amiss. A very uneasy feeling. Alright, we still need to figure out how to deal with this decisive battle. I heard that the disciples of the Misty Sacred Land and the Supreme Juan Sacred Land are secretly cultivating. The latter's cultivation even frightened those people from the Dao Alliance. I don't know what kind of trick they're up to. Right, what are Guangling Jun and Three-Eyed Trumonic doing? The 9-leaved Phoenix clan has arrived, and they haven't come. True Void Venerable looked around, surprised. Those two guys haven't shown their heads for days. I don't know, maybe they're gay. Under the moonlight, he spoke calmly. In the training grounds of the Heavenly Master's sacred land, Guangling Zhen looked at the disciples cultivating in front of him, extremely satisfied. These past few days, he had worked tirelessly targeting the Taijuan sacred land, and now he had achieved something. Even under his guidance, these disciples' strength had improved. For the decisive battle, it seemed foolproof. Supreme Elder, we still haven't found out what exactly happened to Fairy Guling. Su Fengliu said, walking from outside the formation. There were rumors that Fairy Guling had secretly been cultivating at the Taijuan sacred land, and after chasing after her, she immediately turned back. Afterward, she closed herself off, as if worried about being killed to silence her. Su Fengliu suspected that this woman might pack up and flee at any moment. Aren't you the one known as the old rascal who devours everything? From an 18-year-old maiden to a 1,008-year-old old woman, Yan Lingjian said nonchalantly. Rumors, just rumors. Su Fengliu's face turned pale, feeling utterly defeated. He had tried to charm the ancient spirit immortal, but ended up hitting a brick wall. He couldn't get any information out of her, and almost ended up taking off his pants. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Play mobile movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Alright, don't fight. Yan Lingjian shook his head, then heard Su Fengliu confidently say, Supreme Elder, what are you afraid of? No matter what secret cultivation he has, when the decisive battle comes, he will definitely suppress the Taijuan Holy Land. His cultivation achievements these past few days filled him with confidence in the Piamiao disciples. I just want to see how the Taijuan disciples cultivate. Those 100 divine abilities are too bizarre. Yan Lingjian shook his head. He hadn't even considered the possibility of the Piamiao Holy Land's defeat. He had been a stable champion for too many years. Night fell, and silence reigned. Inside the dark graveyard, the old corpse and the demon Shadow Immortal, along with several other old ghosts, looked up at the 10 Taijuan disciples before them, their faces filled with bewilderment. Each of them held a trumpet in their hand. If you want to become stronger, if you want to win first place in the competition, Guangzhong Miaozu, you can only strive to successfully cultivate this divine ability. Go! Yi Shayao stood in the courtyard, holding a branch, like a conductor conducting a concert. Ding! A piercing, high-pitched sound instantly pierced the sky, echoing through half the graveyard, startling several crows. Wang Zhen and the others began to blow their horns, 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix. The sound reverberated through the graveyard, incredibly tragic, mournful, and sorrowful. The old corpse was stunned for a moment, tears streaming down its face. This piece of music is so fitting. I didn't even get this kind of treatment when I died. The music began, initially soaring and clear, as if the songs of cuckoos, finches, and nightingales were echoing a joyful melody, welcoming the newly born phoenix, full of vitality. But very quickly, the melody lowered, as if one could see a phoenix from the point of its life to its end gracefully and tragically transforming into a handful of golden sand. The imagery and beauty moved the listener. Oh, oh, oh! The demon Shadow Immortal, hearing this scene, wept uncontrollably, saying, "This melody reminds me of my youth, of that day running under the setting sun. That was my lost youth." Excellent, excellent. I didn't hear it at the time of my death, but after death, I heard this soul-summoning melody, which can be considered a resolution to my regrets. The other old ghosts praised it. The creator of this melody must be a great sage. I seem to see the inscription on the tombstone, "A life of hardship from birth to death, worthy of a big toast." The old corpse bowed its head to the ground, showing profound respect for the creator. Hearing this, the 10 Taijuan disciples all showed smugness and played even more vigorously. There, sharp sound of the trumpet shook the entire graveyard, disturbing the mist deep within the tombs, and the sound traveled far. Bang! Suddenly, 100 yards away, a head emerged from the mud of a tomb, then pulled out a stone and threw it towards them, cursing loudly. "Do you have any sense of morality? Stop making noise and causing trouble. Don't the neighbors need to sleep? People have to go to work tomorrow. It's past midnight, ghosts wailing and wolves howling. Is there any law left? Is there any justice? Where are the graveyard patrols? Where did they all go?" Ghosts and corpses poked their heads out from the depths of the graveyard, shouting curses. In this pitch-black night, this scene was truly terrifying. My Taijuan disciples are cultivating divine abilities here. Do you intend to meet them? Suddenly, a figure in a blood-red robe appeared in the void and calmly spoke. A terrifying aura like a dark cloud descending. Half the graveyard instantly fell silent. Countless corpses and ghosts stared blankly at the figure in the air. "The one who rose from the coffin is me. Where did this big shot come from? Quick, go invite the Demon Lord." No wonder the patrol team didn't see anything. The Demon Lord was so scared he almost wet his pants. Countless demons trembled with fear and quickly shut their mouths. Their hearts were filled with both fear and resentment. These people, living cultivators of divine abilities, run around the cemetery playing trumpets, disturbing people's peaceful dreams. And their mothers even give them beautiful names cultivating divine abilities? Isn't this pure madness? For a moment, everyone dared not speak, obediently retreating into the tombs. Continue the performance, continue the dance. Ishaya didn't look directly at them, waving his baton to conduct. Ding! The sound of the trumpet pierced the clouds. As they became more and more proficient, the disciples tried to integrate their true essence. At this moment, the sound became even louder and clearer, echoing throughout the entire cemetery. It shook countless tombs, causing earth to fall from the ground, and the ghostly energy in the coffins to surge like a storm. For the next 2 days, Ishayo guided his disciples on controlling their bodies and true essence, correcting errors in their divine abilities, teaching them how to quickly absorb medicinal power, and helping them refine their combat skills, improving them in all aspects. However, in terms of vital energy and injuries, the Taijuan disciples were indeed weak. Their endurance was not as good as Tai Hang's, but as long as they controlled their physical bodies and vital energy meticulously, without wasting a single drop, and consumed some healing pills, dealing with those guys from the misty Holy Land would be enough. With his comprehension and current cultivation, guiding these people was as easy as pie. There was no difficulty. However, most of the time was spent having the disciples practice 100 birds, paying homage to the phoenix. This piece was still quite difficult to play well. It wasn't until 2 days and 2 nights later, when everyone's strength had improved, that the training finally ended. Everyone disperse. Whoever's family has a deceased person, go and play along, Ishaya said with great satisfaction. Yes, 10 disciples shouted excitedly, leaving the graveyard. Ishaya bid farewell to the old corpse and the demon Shadow Immortal, waving his hand and leaving. These ancestors are finally gone. Countless ghosts in the graveyards were excited. They had been tortured to death these past 2 days. Most of the ghosts had low cultivation levels and couldn't stop the sound of the true essence trumpet. Alas, what a pity! I couldn't discuss the ghost Tao with the young master. The demon Shadow Immortal was very regretful. Discussing the Tao with Yishayao had given him great insight. Who exactly is that guy? When did the Taijuan Holy Land produce such a monstrous young man? The old corpse wondered. They, being here, also needed to work regularly, although it is possible to leave a certain area. But they couldn't go too far, otherwise harming all 4 directions would certainly incur the wrath of the Heavenly Master Holy Land. Information was scarce and relatively difficult to obtain. However, the boss here, the ghost ancestor, was an exception. Taijuan Holy Land Yinan, the son of heaven, that prodigious junior with heaven-defying talent. A tall, axe-wielding old ghost emerged from the depths, his bloodshot eyes staring into the distance. What, is it him? The old corpse and the demon shadow immortal were startled, their expressions filled with horror. They had heard of Yi Xiaoyao's name. He possessed an incredibly abnormal talent. They absolutely never imagined he was the only male descendant of the Yi family. Don't even think about attacking him. Even harming a single hair on his head would raise this graveyard to the ground. Then, recovering from their shock, they hurried back. Greetings, ghost ancestor. The tall old demon, while alive, was a true grandmother, a Saint King level figure. After death, he cultivated for thousands of years, reaching the saint level as well. He was directly under the jurisdiction of the Heavenly Master Palace. The tall old demon stroked his chin slightly, clicking his tongue and saying, in the Sacred Land competition, this misty sacred land is probably going to face a tough opponent. One day, the sun shone brightly, the sky was clear, and the breeze was gentle. The time for the decisive battle has finally arrived. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. I wonder who in this generation can become the leader of the 9 great sacred lands. I'm even more eager to see what kind of demeanor that monstrous genius, the creator of 100 divine techniques, the Taijuan ancestor, truly possesses. The arena once again erupted in excitement, this time with a staggering 150,000 attendees from countless factions. Each person was filled with excitement and anticipation. The 9 great sacred lands had arrived. On the viewing platform, Guanglingzhen and Qingfeng Holy Lord had also arrived early. The most striking figure was a young girl dressed in a red cloud-patterned pleated dress with gold embroidery, adorned with a phoenix hairpin, resembling a red sparrow. Around 16 years old, her petite and charming figure was captivating, her peach blossom eyes and cherry lips exuding a sweet innocence mixed with a hint of allure, making one feel the urge to embrace her. She resembled a pure, innocent girl, a quintessential example of both purity and desire. Such captivating beauty, yet no one dared to look directly at her. Because in this era, regardless of whether it was righteous or demonic, or even the ancient races, in terms of status and position, no one could compare to her. The 9 Phoenix clan, the daughter of the ancient Phoenix, the younger sister born at the same time as the ancient Prince Feng Queer, the true daughter of a great emperor, a heavenly emperor noble. Has the legendary Taijuan little ancestor not arrived yet? Feng Queer, lively and bright, her peach blossom eyes surveying the surroundings. Having just arrived here, she had heard the name Taijuan little ancestor too many times, and it was inevitable that she was curious. Moreover, creating a divine technique at the age of 8 was also astonishing and unprecedented in the ancient era. He's gone quickly. After the last qualifying round, he's been secretly cultivating with those Taijuan disciples, the Qingfeng Holy Lord said with a smile. Just then, the weather changed drastically, and a huge river, thousands of feet long, flew from afar and hung suspended to one side. The river water was slightly murky, as if a fish were swimming around. Clang! A hook fell into the river, its tail attached to the line, the other end of the line holding a fishing rod. At this moment, an old man wearing a wide-brimmed hat sat cross-legged to one side, staring intently at the float. Is this the ancient king of the 9 Phoenix clan? Isn't he the old fisherman, watching the battle? He doesn't forget to fish. Yi Xiaoyao, arriving from afar, couldn't help but exclaim in amazement at this scene. This ancient king, known as the Fish King, divorced his wife because of his fishing. 10 Taijuan disciples entered the dueling arena in front of everyone. This couple, 100 years ago, emerged from the collapsed divine realm. The first thing the ancient king did after his appearance was to go fishing, and he fished for 10 years straight. His old friend finally couldn't take it anymore and divorced him. I heard that on the day of the divorce, this old monster was still fishing by the river, not moving an inch. Three-eyed true monarch explained to Yi Xiaoyao casually. Hearing this, Yi Xiaoyao looked at the old man and couldn't help but admire him greatly. The old fisherman was truly terrifying. Let's go! Three-eyed true monarch and Yi Xiaoyao climbed the stairs to the main hall, ascending step by step. In an instant, many eyes converged on Yi Xiao. Is this the Taijuan disciple Yi Xiao? He's undeniably tragically handsome. I heard he doesn't like cultivation, and even now he's only at the true profound realm. He prefers lying around reading, petting birds and fish, and researching divine techniques. Ancient and modern history proves that geniuses have minds far superior to ordinary people. A few powerful elders who hadn't seen Yi Xiao before looked over. Some young women's eyes gleamed with lust, coveting Yi Xiao and wishing they could pounce on him on the spot. This prodigy's comprehension is incredibly boundless. If they could cuddle him, give him a few years of intense pleasure, and have a son and a daughter, wouldn't life be amazing? Since the news of Yi Xiao creating 100 martial arts techniques became firmly established, his charm has far surpassed that of a diamond-hard bachelor. You are Yi Xiao, so young. Feng Queer looked over curiously, not at all unfamiliar. Yi Xiao's head was that of a young man, but his face still had a childish look. Young. Yi Xiao glared at her, raised his eyebrows, feeling offended. Which part are you referring to as small? I'll wrap it around my waist. Of course it's age. Feng Queer rolled her eyes. Ah, I thought it was something else. Yi Xiao replied, slowly sitting down next to Qingfeng Holy Lord, Guangling Jun, and the others. You. Feng Queer wasn't stupid upon hearing this. Her small face immediately flushed red, glaring at Yi Xiao, her cat-like teeth grinding together. As the daughter of the ancient emperor, her status was revered. Others treated her with utmost respect. Who would dare tease her like this? Junior brother Xiao has been secretly cultivating with those Taijuan disciples for a few days, but was there a harvest? The Holy Lord Thanfang hastily changed the subject, not wanting this Phoenix clan girl to clash with Yi Xiao. The 9 La Phoenix clan's banquet this time was personally hosted by the ancient Fish King, so the 9 great holy lands would certainly send representatives, and Yi Xiao would likely attend. If this little girl targeted him, Yi Xiao would likely suffer greatly. Hearing this, the others all looked over, unable to hide their curiosity. I heard that even Fairy Wen Yuling was so frightened by the Taijuan Holy Land that she didn't dare come out. What did you all do? True immortal Juyu chuckled. It was just cultivation. He couldn't figure out how it could have frightened Fairy Yuling. That girl's endurance wasn't low. Nothing, just normal cultivation. Yi Xiao said calmly. Hearing this, Guangling Jun smiled, a smile that wasn't quite a smile, still quite mysterious. I wonder how confident you are in competing for first place. There's nothing certain, only a 90% chance. Yi Xiao replied indifferently. The others were silent, his tone unusually arrogant. Haha, just wait and see. Guangling Jun snorted, finding this young man increasingly displeasing. His mouth could kill someone. At this moment, the Qingfeng Holy Lord stepped forward, cleared his throat, and the entire arena instantly fell silent. He waved his hand, and the 9 arenas rumbled, merging together with a powerful divine ability. The rules are the same as before, with 2 points each, and elimination upon completion. The difference is, this time there's only 1 arena. Let's begin the draw. The Qingfeng Holy Lord spoke concisely, immediately returning to his seat. Finally, it begins. The 9 great holy sons will face off. Based on past precedents, the likely winner is still the misty Holy Land, Su Fengliu. In an instant, the arena erupted. Many forces were greatly excited, all watching the arena. The disciples of the great holy lands wielded their demonic fists and killing palms, especially the disciples of the misty Holy Land. After 7 days of cultivation, they were full of confidence, their eyes towards the Taijuan disciples filled with provocation. And the Taijuan disciples were also unwilling to be outdone. All 45 people stepped forward, each drawing their respective bamboo sticks from the referee's rope-covered mirror. Misty Immortal Palace's Li Ling against Guisu Holy Land's Ju Wufeng. The referee shouted, Li Ling, I heard he's already advanced to the half-step spirit realm. Possessing the Eye of Punishing Sins, his combat power is comparable to a saint's son. Ju Wufeng is also very powerful. Already at the half-step spirit realm, his cultivation is incredibly condensed, and his divine abilities are even more extraordinary. In an instant, discussions began from all sides, looking towards the 2 young men who had ascended the arena. Why aren't they Taijuan disciples? What a pity. A burly Ma family member beside Su Fengli lamented. Their Misty sect disciples had already sharpened their blades, just waiting to stab Taijuan disciples. Hey, no need to rush. We'll run into them sooner or later. Another young man chuckled. Meanwhile, on the stage, Zhu Wufeng's face was serious, holding a black spear in his hand. His aura surging with excitement. Are you the Li Ling who was beaten until he bled by that mysterious person from Taijuan Holy Land? Li Ling's face instantly turned pale. With agitation, he was speechless. That's just a rumor, a rumor. How dare you slander me? Li Ling roared, his steps swift, his figure like lightning. His massive fists, bulging like sledgehammers, slammed towards Zhu Wufeng. The air seemed to howl as he displayed his formidable power. In terms of strength, he was no weaker than the Kunlun Saint Sun and others. His physical body and true essence had reached the peak of the true core realm. The author is giving away a 6-month Galaxy Playmobil movie subscription worth 100 KVND. Get your gifts now. Divine Mountain Spear. Zhu Wufeng laughed loudly. He wanted to provoke Li Ling and throw him into disarray. A long spear pierced through like a black divine mountain falling from the sky, powerful and heavy, and with a loud bang, it directly stabbed into Li Ling's fist. Bang! True essence erupted. Zhu Wufeng retreated, revealing his shock. Is his true essence and physical strength so abnormal? He didn't understand. He had watched Li Ling's battles since the ranking competition had just begun. This guy possessed a pair of God-punishing eyes, able to spot the enemy's weaknesses, and was skilled at using weak points to break through and defeat his opponents. Do you really think I'm a soft persimmon? Even those saint sons of Taijuan and Kunlun wouldn't be my match. Li Ling sneered, charging forward again, his fists unleashed, powerful and domineering, raining down on Zhu Wufeng like a storm. Boom! In an instant, the two sides clashed, their vital energy surging wildly, wave after wave, fist light and spear clashing, erupting in deafening clashes. Li Ling was very strong, but Zhu Wufeng, having made it to the finals, was no weaker either, making it difficult to determine a winner for a while. Thunder God Spear! Zhu Wufeng roared, unleashing his great divine ability. The black spear emitted a surging black light, transforming into a heaven-shattering divine thunderbolt, aimed directly at Li Ling's throat. Defeated! Li Ling was not frightened but rather delighted. His eyes suddenly blazed with golden divine light, as if he could see through Zhu Wufeng's divine ability. He slammed his heavy fist 3 inches below the tip of the black spear. The surging black light was like a punctured balloon, its momentum instantly plummeting. Li Ling seized the opportunity, transforming his fist into a claw, and with a reverse grip, pulled the spear. Zhu Wufeng's body was involuntarily pulled, his face changing drastically, and he immediately let go. Perhaps too late, Li Ling's shoulder slammed forward aggressively, causing Zhu Wufeng to spit blood profusely and fly backward off the stage. HMPH, you piece of trash! Li Ling contemptuously threw away the black spear, his arrogance extraordinary. Suddenly, he provocatively raised his eyebrows towards the Taijuan Saint Sun, Jia Zikeng. Next up are you.